Okay, welcome everybody. Really appreciate you guys coming. Yeah, well, roll call, please. I'd like to call to order and call for a roll call.
Councilmember Narenheim,
Here.
Councilmember Lowenstein, absent. Councilmember Kaludjetovic. Here. Councilmember Obaji.
Here.
Councilmember Barron.
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's all rise and salute the flag and take a moment of silence. Okay, ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Anybody want to make some announcements? We usually go through, but it's kind of an informal meeting, so Councilmember Narenheim, you got anything to?
I'll just say that next week we have the International Surf Festival coming up. And on, I think it's a Wednesday night, we have the Medal of Valor dinner that everyone's invited to. I think it's like $40 to get in. And then, so next week starts the International Surf Festival, which is basically a lot of competitions. So 2-mile run, 2-mile swim. There might happen to be 2 council members that are doing it. I have to start training for it.
Start training this week.
Didn't know I was going to have competition. And a lot of other events for kids. There's sailing in the harbor, youth sailing in the harbor. It's a really, really cool event. And the lifeguards on Friday night and Saturday night of next weekend have a big competition at Hermosa Beach Pier. So big lights and big competition. Other agencies from around the state come and show up. Really cool event, really South Bay. And Medal of Valor dinner is really fun to go to. That's me held at the King Harbor Yacht Club. There's a dinner involved, and you get to hear some cool stories and some good times. So other than that, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Kaludjetovic.
Yes, just I wanted to say thank you to a lot of departments that showed up. We attended the county mental health summit on Thursday, and Redondo PD was there, fire department, public works, city attorney, city manager. We had someone from Little Company of Mary, Alcove was there. And it was just a really great showing to see how serious we are about mental health in Redondo Beach. And more to come on that. I think we have some meetings to discuss where we can go from there. And then I also just wanted to say that my community meeting is tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Unfortunately, that is also when the U.S. women's team is playing. So I apologize to anyone who is going to miss that, including myself. It's at the Galleria leasing office, 6 o'clock tomorrow night. That's it.
Okay, Councilmember Obaji.
All right, good evening, everybody. We had a great District 4 community meeting last Wednesday night at Perry Park. Thank you for everybody who came out. It was one of the most highly attended. I was surprised because it's summertime. But I want to send special thanks to our Department of Public Works. 3 of our heads, Director Saman, Assistant Director Klein, and Chief Engineer Wenji, all came out and talked about the traffic safety issues on Grant Avenue, Artesia Boulevard, and Aviation, and even heard feedback from the community as to issues they hadn't considered yet. And they got to work kind of right away. Within days, Mr. Klein was out on the row, the SCE right of way, looking at issues that were flagged to him by the residents. So it was great. And look forward to the next one. Thanks.
Okay, Councilmember Barron.
Thank you, Bear. I just wanted to let everybody know that this weekend, Saturday, July 29th, our supervisor, the Honorable Holly J. Mitchell, is going to be having the Racial Justice Learning Exchange event at Dockweiler Beach. There will be a screening of the film, Wade in the Water. And there's also going to be a number of community beach activities, surf lessons. So if you haven't already RSVP'd, please do. There may still be some availability. And I look forward to seeing everybody out there on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Barron. I just want to remind everybody, we're up here to serve you. And I appreciate all you guys coming out. But all of us are on the city website. My cell phone number is 310-809-4405. That's my cell phone number. It's on the website. Any concerns or questions or needs you have in the city, feel free to call me, look on the website, and we're all here to service. And a lot of people don't take advantage of that, frankly. Everybody freaks out that I got my cell phone up there, but nobody calls me. How about that? So, yeah, just encouraging you guys to encourage your neighbors. You know, that's what we're here for. And we do respond. We might, emails on the other hand, we get a lot of emails. So if you don't hear from us the first time, try again. So with that, I guess I'll entertain approval of agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any objections? So moved. Blue folder items. Do you have any blue folder items, Laura?
There are no blue folder items.
Okay, that's new. Consent calendar, we have a couple items on the consent calendar. We have 2 whole items. So is there a motion to approve or anybody
Motion to
want to pull
approve
anything?
consent item.
Motion to approve consent calendar, second?
Second.
Okay, any oppositions? Okay, so ordered. So public participation on non-agenda items. This appears on every council meeting. It's the beginning of every meeting, so anybody want to get up here and talk about something that's not on the agenda, now's your opportunity. Not about your application, because that is on the agenda, but yeah, anything else? Feel free to step up. Anybody on Zoom?
There's no attendees and no e-comments.
Okay,
Mayor, there was a blue folder item that Eleanor had sent out.
that's what I thought. Is there a blue folder, Laura?
Give me 1 second.
So motion to approve blue folder.
Yeah, that's right, there was one. I don't know what the title of it was. I think it was material related to this.
Right.
Oh, yeah, there it is. I'll second that.
Okay, any objections to approving? Okay, hearing no objections, so ordered. Okay, I don't see any takers for non-agenda items, so let's get right into it. No public hearings, so no items from previous agendas. So this night, folks, is our interviews, obviously, for our various commission openings. There are a lot of openings this year. And, first I want to thank everybody for coming down and showing an interest in our city, because not enough people do. And for you guys to take time out of your lives to show up, fill out the application, and show up to one of these commission meetings is huge. So it's a great way to get involved in the city, learn about the city. There aren't enough openings for everybody who wants to be on, particularly the planning commission. But there are openings. And so if you don't get your first choice, don't hesitate to second choice. It's kind of a way to learn about the city. And many people, they kind of take it hesitantly because it wasn't their first choice. And once they get on it, they really, really enjoy it. So keep that in mind. And the other thing is, if you get on a commission and something happens and all of a sudden you're not interested, you can always resign. So keep that in mind. It's not like, you're signing up for a job that you got to resign from and cut your pay or anything. So I wouldn't hesitate to get involved in a commission, whatever you get appointed to. So what else? People are always happy when they get on. At first they're hesitant and then boom, they're happy. So with that, I guess we'll go in alphabetical order. Sorry for those with the last name begins with a Z. But I think we began with the Z's last time, so try to mix it up. One time we did it in the middle. So those with EDMs feels like you're getting gypped out. No, we started in the middle of the appointment. So tonight we're going to go in order. So we ask you guys to come up and say whatever you want to say. We have your applications. I've read all your applications. Some of them are extremely impressive. And don't feel bad if you're going to ask any questions, because it's all here and we read it. And we may not have any questions. So don't feel bad if we don't have any questions. But anyway, let's see who we're going to start off with tonight. And some people that don't show up tonight may very well get appointed. So, let me pull this up. Yeah, thanks. Let's start with Ryan Abelman. Ryan, are you here? It says here he's going to be 10 minutes late, so we'll try on him if he walks in. Next up is Jasmine Allen. Jasmine, are you here? Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's the hot seat over there, so. Thank you. Yeah, so fine. Yeah, tell us about yourself, Jasmine, and see you're applying budget and finance, and you don't have a second choice. So yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Honorary mayors, council members, Jasmine Allen, honored to be here. Thank you for having me. I am applying for a finance commissioner position. I am currently, that's what I do for a living. I am a deputy treasurer for City of Torrance currently. I've also served City of El Segundo, so I am a public servant. Very happy to be here and very qualified for this position. I have 2.5 decades of experience. This is what I do for a living. And when I came across this opportunity, I thought I have an obligation to apply and serve my community. Initially, the way I came across this was I was doing a research for City of Torrance, and I was looking at budgets. And when I saw City of Redondo Beach budget, I fell off my chair, and it took me a while to get up because it is a fraction of what it should be. And I give kudos to the city manager who is doing a great job with the city with that kind of budget. I remember applying for positions to work for the city, but I called back and said, I can't because I have to take almost a 50% cut. So I want to help to see how can we fix the revenue? How can we do something about it? And I'm not talking about raising taxes or making city like Santa Monica, but what can we do to make our city be where it should be? Because in order for us to do things, we need money. Money is a good thing. It allows us to do things. A little bit personal about me, I was born in a different country. I came here with my family when I was 13 years old. I did not speak a word in English. I spoke 3 others. But today, to even be able to be here, what this country has done for me and my family has been incredible. And I'd like to give a fraction of just a little bit of it back. Because that's what I do for a living. I'm a finance expert. And I have great records, I've been in City of Torrance. I came from El Segundo 10 months now, and my yields, my numbers are the highest of anyone in LA County and Orange County. And I can answer any questions you have for me.
Yeah, you're eminently qualified.
I am.
I mean, I've never seen somebody so qualified.
And I'll be honored to serve my city and you.
Yeah, and I would tell everybody, don't feel intimidated if you have no experience in anything. Shouldn't say anything, but yeah, Jasmine over here is, you go by Jasmine?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't have questions. But yeah, Councilmember, anybody?
I got my hand up. I put my hand up.
Sorry, I still haven't.
I don't think he's logged in yet.
He's not logged in.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, go ahead, Councilmember Nairn. You have any questions?
Yeah, I got a couple actually. So you work for City of Torrance?
Yes.
So their budgets run a little differently over there?
Yes.
Every city does a budget a little differently.
Yes.
How many assets do you manage over there as a treasurer of Torrance?
We have 300, we just hit 300 million.
As assets for that under
Portfolio,
management?
the portfolio, yes. But
Portfolio.
our budget is 540
540 million.
million, yes. And in El Segundo, when I worked in El Segundo, now you know how small El Segundo is. It's
Yeah.
17,000 residents.
Yep.
They have the same budget as Redondo Beach.
Right,
So that's why I fell off my chair.
right. You know what that has to do with, right?
Well, yes, but what I'd like to do is what can we do? I'd love to work with economics development team or create another maybe subdivision, sub-team to see how can we attract the right businesses, the ones, not just any business, the ones that can maximize our bottom line.
Yeah.
But that's
We
what
have to
they
have the
do.
space for it to be able to zone for it. It's a whole other conversation. What do you see in our budget that you would change differently? On the Budget Finance Commission, you get to look at our budget once. once or twice. Do you have anything that you'd see would be done differently in ours versus Torrance or El Segundo, or what we do better? Or have you seen that level of detail yet? Or let me ask you this, what is one thing that you see that Torrance does that you could carry over here to Redondo?
They do allocate more funds, both El Segundo and Torrance, to economic development. They are actively putting money, they're investing money to getting the right kind of businesses in, and it's strategically done. So we're not just looking for anybody to come to our city. We want to protect our city. We don't want to become Santa Monica. I just had lunch with a bunch of colleagues in Santa Monica. I'm not saying let's become Santa Monica at all.
That was my campaign, let's not be Santa Monica. No problem with that.
I didn't know
We
that.
want the traffic, the density.
Yes. It took me more than 2 hours to get back from lunch from Santa Monica
Yeah.
to here.
I don't.
But that's not what I'm trying to say. That's why I say it needs to be strategically looked at. What are we attracting? What are we bringing? Let's gather some data and compare. Should we get this business or this business? Are we going after high tech, or are we going for another burger joint?
Right. So and when it comes to strategic development or strategically spending the money, what do they spend their money on strategically? Is it, luncheons, is it advertising?
Advertising, relationships, also marketing. Yeah, you have to market yourself.
Right. You're the city.
Yes.
Makes a lot of sense. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, you guys, go ahead, Zane.
Jasmine, thank you for your application. So we have in the city, the Galleria is not at its full potential. It's practically vacant, or the people are renting there for free. We've got the waterfront is going to get a lot of investment, but there's some spaces like the Fun Factory spaces empty. Old Ruby's site, Samba's site, Joe's Crab Shack, all leased property, could be generating revenue, but we're not currently. So there's a lot of potential there. Relative to our leased property that is vacant and that we're potentially seeking new tenants for, what would you say is the best way to go about ensuring that we get maximum value out of those leases?
So this is not a one-person answer. This needs to be I need to sit down and look with the economics development person and collaboratively communicate and decide and make decisions. So what I will say today might not be it's not my decision to say that.
Right.
But I would say something that will bring in the right amount, the right money to the city, not just people in, but the money in. So something that highly taxable or something that's, expensive. Whether it's a business, whether even if it's a restaurant, what kind of restaurant do you want to bring in?
Got it. All right, thank you.
Hey, do you have any questions?
I don't.
Scott?
I do, thank you, Mayor. Hello, Ms. Allen. The Budget and Finance Committee meets on the second Thursday of every month, and currently at 6:30 p.m. I just wanted to ask, what would be the earliest you think you could start if you were appointed to that commission?
Preferably 6 p.m. But since I work for another city, there's always an understanding within city, because there are deputies who serve another city. Sometimes they even run as a treasurer, or they run as, and there's always an understanding that if you need to go and do your service, it's okay to do. So even if I need to take a later lunch or lunch break, that's doable.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor Brent, I have a quick follow-up.
Yeah, go ahead.
I noticed you're from District 4, right?
Yes, my house is right where District 4 starts.
Oh, nice.
It's the
what
line,
starts?
the line that, 4, District 4, yes.
So speaking of positions and where we are, what would our treasurer's position here in Redondo is elected?
Yes, Eugene Solomon, I know him.
Yep.
Well, yeah.
Yep. And what are the qualifications do you think someone should have in that position? Or do you think there should be qualifications that should be an elected position? I mean, right now our qualifications are you're 18 years old, you lived in a city for 30 days, and you're registered to vote. That's the qualifications to manage $115 million worth of budget.
Yes, this is a hot topic. And I always begin with saying there is no elected position that has qualifications. You can run for president, senator, congressman, council member. None of these positions need qualifications. As long as you're a certain age and you're born in a certain place, that's all the qualifications for elected officials. Some cities are getting away from that. A city of El Segundo, the voters only have the decision to make. They voted that they do want it to be appointed position, but it is an elected position just like any others. So what I like about Torrance is that the elected treasurer, when he ran for the office, he said that I'm basically only going to have oversight and I'm going to allow the staff to do their job. So what the best thing any elected official can do is give the control, power, responsibility to staff who are qualified, because we are qualified. You guys are not.
We want a popularity
and
contest.
any elected official,
Yeah.
you learn as you go.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, thank you. That's it.
You're the deputy treasurer.
Yes.
You know, we're looking for a deputy city treasurer right now.
No, I did not know.
Right, Laura?
I think she said we don't pay enough.
Yeah, you guys don't pay, before
No, I mean, what I'm getting at, are you going to apply for the job?
I did not know, I
Might not have posted it yet, but ours just retired.
Oh, no, that's deputy,
Yes.
no, you're thinking of city clerk.
I'm sorry. You're
Okay,
right.
yeah.
It's deputy
because-
city clerk.
I got it mixed
I
up.
was confused. Yes.
My bad.
Wrong deputy.
Never mind.
Yes, deputy, wrong.
Another
Big
deputy,
fat,
but-
never mind. Our deputy
Okay.
city clerk just
Yeah.
retired, so we're looking for a deputy city clerk.
It's paperwork.
But you can have me for free.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Well, thank you, Jasmine, really, appreciate it.
Thank you, and I
Thanks
want to
for
say hello
coming
to my
in
husband and
here.
my 10-year-old Bridget, just in case this is, I don't know if it's televised.
Oh, it is.
Okay, I love you, Bridget.
Are they watching though?
You can look at the camera, right there, that camera.
Can
Love you,
we-
Bridget.
There
Thank
you
you.
go. Okay. Next up is Ahmed Al-Musafir. Ahmed, are you here?
Did Abelman show up? Abelman,
I'm just calling the names as they come up. I see, is that Ryan Abelman? Yeah, we called your name already, but come on down. Brian, is it first, Ahmed, is Ahmed here?
Hamid.
Hamid, sorry. Is he in the room or on Zoom?
Al-Muzaffar.
No, we just have Christina Miller on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, come on down, Mr. Abelman.
Apologize for being late. It's a long commute from LA.
Thanks for making it. So, yeah, I don't think I have your, do we have his information, application? Mr. Abelman?
They were emailed last Fridays. The city
Oh.
clerk emailed them to everybody last Friday.
Thank you.
oh, that's where they are, okay. I
Fill
had the
us
same
in,
question.
Brian, because we just got your application on Friday.
All right, what would you like to know?
Well, I guess whatever you want us to know. You applied for Harbor Commission.
I was
Why are you
born on a
quali-
balmy summer eve. No, I'm applied for the Harbor Commissioner position, the opening. I am an attorney for 9 years.
Are you
Started
on the
off,
bar?
I'm sorry?
Are you on the bar? Are
Yes,
you-
305, 323.
Okay, yeah, because we just had our attorney not renew his position on the Harbor Commission, and we're required to have an attorney on the Harbor Commission. So your timing is.
Look at that. At least I was on time for that, so that's good. So yeah, I was a sole practitioner for a year. Then I was head of a general counsel for a talent agency. And then I worked for Spear, Woodward, Corbliss, and Goldberg over here on Torrance. I'm doing real estate, commercial, and business law. And now I am an attorney for Nickelodeon.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and I have a 8-month-old now, so I'm just trying to increase viewership. It's a tough time in the entertainment world, so we got to get those viewers where we can.
We got one anyway.
She's a big fan of Baby Shark. She doesn't know it yet, but she is.
Yes.
Okay, any questions? Yeah. Councilmember Rampage?
All right, so you're from, Mr. Abelman, you're from the most
Yes.
beautiful District 4
Yes, I am.
in Redondo Beach.
Yes,
Now, seeing as you come from a land-bound district.
yes.
Why are you interested in being on the Harbor Commission?
Well, I'm significantly more land-bound than that. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And then I went to college in Michigan, at Michigan State University, and slowly made my way west here. I am a big fan of the ocean. Lots of you were fortunate enough to be born here, and this is just your home by default. I chose this to be my home after living in lots of places. And I am I'm a big fan. We already have Redondo Beach Union High School gear, and I don't even have, my daughter's 8 months old, so I got a ways to go.
But let me ask you a follow-up question. What have you participated in any activities out of the Redondo Beach Marina or spent any
Oh
much
yeah, I'm a
time?
big scuba diver.
Okay.
I dive off the steps here quite frequently. In fact, if you happen to find a set of goggles, I lost some not too long. I lost some not too long ago.
In the lifeguard tower.
Yeah, it's a good idea. We'll do that. No, I'm down at the beach as much as I can. I love the pier. Old Tony's is probably one of my, if I'm not at home or at work or in traffic, I'm probably at Old Tony's.
All right. Cool. Thank you for applying.
Councilmember Barry, go ahead.
You go first. Go for it.
Thank you, and good evening, Mr. Abelman.
You can call me Ryan if you'd like.
Ryan, oh, thank you. The Harbor Commission, I believe, meets on the second Monday of every month.
Yes.
At 6:30 PM.
Yes.
What would be the earliest, if that time were to change, I'm not saying it would, what would be the earliest you think? you
Oh, I
can
could be here anytime because of COVID, ever since COVID, we only work at the studio on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
make- Okay,
So I work from home Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, so I can be down here anytime.
all right. And for the Planning Commission, I saw you listed that as option 2.
Truthfully,
Please.
it made me pick a second.
Okay.
I don't really know much about it other than what I read on the website there.
Okay.
But it's this, like, my availability is Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, anytime.
Thank you, Ryan.
Councilmember Nierenheim.
You said you work for Nickelodeon. You deal with contracts,
Yes, I'm a transactional attorney.
transactions.
Yes.
So then you can look at leases and.
Yeah, I did that over at Spear Woodward. I looked at all sorts of, I dealt with, commercially, I dealt with leases and primarily, as well as corporate formations, things like that. And then when on the residential side, a lot of VRBO, Airbnb type stuff, as well as some, when people didn't want to bring in a realtor, I handled some of the transactions, sale transactions.
When you say VRBO and other short-term rental things, I mean, is that for who is it? What do you mean?
Homeowners who wanted to do short-term rentals, but for whatever reason didn't want to use VRBO or Airbnb, I would draft leases or look at leases of theirs and make suggestions, as well as I did a lot of risk analysis as far as what sort of hiccups they could run into in doing Airbnbs or VRBOs at the outset.
All right. Risk analysis. I like that. All right. And you scuba dive.
Yes,
How long have you been diving?
1996.
Oh, same year I got certified.
I got certified in Michigan.
I got certified
Very
out here in
chilly.
Redondo. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Fresh water too,
Yes, it
nonetheless.
was
That's really cold.
extremely cold.
You poor thing.
Like, you know what the thermocline? Like, that's thermocline
Yeah.
on the surface.
That's a good point. It's a good point. Dove over Catalina?
Yes, yeah, a lot.
What are you doing diving at Veterans Park?
It's close. They have horned sharks down there. You know,
That's where I got certified, was at
That's
Veterans Park.
where you get certified, but it's better.
truthfully, diving it's like
Not in
it's
the
like
park.
pizza.
Okay.
So, right. So what I've always seen, tell me if I'm wrong, just tell me I'm wrong when I'm done. I always envision Redondo Beach Harbor as the recreational gateway to Catalina.
I mean, sure. I mean, Catalina's it's a hike to get to. It's
But it needs a recreational gateway,
well, yeah.
not just people going to Avalon for a day and drinks, whatever, food, but like for divers, for hikers, fishing, camping. You see that possible?
Ingress egress is difficult. Where are you going to put land is finite. Where are you going to put them? Where's the land that they're going to go? We're fortunate to have very expansive beaches. Our beaches are very long, but you can't do anything with them other than beach activities. You can't.
Look at the harbor.
True, but there's not much you can do there either. It's your landlocked. You're essentially you're stuck in the cove there. You can't access it very easily, but for a few roads. And the transportation is getting a little better with the bus station they just put in, but I still don't see how people are going to get down there. Parking is difficult to begin with. I saw that was a discussion of the Harbor Commission at the last meeting. Some of the parking issues, and that still remains. Parking is a hurdle.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize there's an arm, right, when you head out to Mole B, and it just opens up. But a lot of people are intimidated and don't think they can get in there. So FYI, that arm is either up or down. And if it's down, somebody's in there, it automatically pops up. So that was a big issue at the Coastal Commission 14 years ago. Anyway, well, thanks for coming down, Ryan.
That's it.
Appreciate it. I don't see more questions. So.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for applying. Okay, is Tom Bauer here? Tom Bauer, he's currently on the Harbor Commission and he's reapplied. So I don't see Tom. Is he on Zoom? Tom Bauer.
No, we only have Christina Miller on Zoom.
Okay.
Also, Mayor, I don't see, any of the council members have Mr. Abelman's application, because I just want to make sure. Oh, it's in the blue folder? Got it.
Blue folder, yeah.
Oh, got it. All right, thank you.
That's exactly what I was looking for myself.
Yep. Okay, Andrew Beely, or Beli. Is Andrew Beli here? Andrew, welcome. You applied for Planning Commission, second choice is Public Safety, third choice is Public Work and Sustainability. So,
All important things to do with the city.
welcome.
Thank you.
Just tell us a little bit about yourself and why
I
you
jotted a
chose
few
these
things down. I just want to make sure that I'm reading it correctly. So yes, I'm Andrew Beely, and I have actually served already with the Charter Review as a alternate, and really enjoyed my time doing it. I thought it was interesting, and being an alternate wasn't as much fun as being more involved, and I didn't quite get that opportunity, but I'm looking forward to for the chance of becoming or being a little bit more involved with the city on a commission. I'm a residential building inspector with the city of Los Angeles.
Oh,
I'm also a sitting board member with the Municipal Construction Inspectors Association that serves over 800 inspectors with the city of Los Angeles. As an inspector, I receive constant training on current building and zoning codes, as well as the state mandated changes with the ADU and JDUs and Airbnb and VRBOs and all that other fun acronyms. I believe that Redondo Beach is becoming one of, if not already, one of the highest urban density cities in California. And even though the city of LA or the state of California is trying to make the cities have a higher density than it already has, I believe by it doing so is really could change the way of life that Redondo Beach and other cities have. My job is kind of like enforcing the rules, but a lot of times I don't agree with the rules. With my knowledge or my experience and knowledge, I can see a tremendous opportunity for myself to contribute to the city in a positive way and hopefully keep the quality of life for all of the people of Redondo Beach as good or better than it is now.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Actually, the most densely populated city on the coast of California is Hermosa Beach.
Is
At
it really?
13,000 residents per square mile.
Wow.
And we're not far behind them at 11,000 residents per square mile. Are you familiar with RHNA, Regional Housing?
Sorry?
RHNA, R-H-N-A, Regional Housing Needs Assessments.
No.
That each city has to meet. It's a good opportunity for me to educate the city that the state mandates that we upzone basically by a certain amount, regardless of your density, by a certain number of units, particularly affordable units, low income, middle income, moderate income. And so it's something we just went through. And unlike most cities in California, we got a certified regional housing needs assessment on time. So we have that. So we have to add 2,500 and change. We have to zone for another 2,500 residential units. And, you know, and Hermosa has to go up by 565, I think, and they're already densely populated. So as you said, we're mandated by the state. The state is taking over local cities' abilities to zone their property. Are you familiar with SB 9?
Yes.
Yeah. So SB 9, really, there is no more single-family zoning in this entire state of California
Agreed.
because of SB 9. SB 9 now strips local control, and your single-family lots, you can now build at least 4 units on a single-family lot with very little setback and no parking. So we currently have a lawsuit along with City of Torrance, City of Whittier, and City of Carson, suing the state for, well, it's complicated, but I won't get into that. So there's a lot going on at the planning level. Yeah, so that's why I asked your familiarity to even know about SB 9.
Yes, I deal a lot with ADUs and you want to talk about no parking. The city of Los Angeles is actually putting through permits for multi-family apartment buildings with 0 required parking.
Yep. And some developers aren't taking the bait on that because who wants to live in a place that doesn't have any parking?
Not I.
Yeah. So it's very complicated. I'll stop there. We're going way beyond.
Deal with that stuff every day.
Yeah, well, there you go. Okay, any questions from Councilmember Obaji?
Mr. Bailey, thank you for your application.
Thank you.
Question for you is, seeing as we just went through our arena assessment, we had to figure out where in this density to zone for 2,400, I think it was 43, 49 new residences. And there was dispute in the city with some people saying spread them evenly across the city, and others like myself saying, hey, put them next to the freeways, next to the metro stations on the east side of our city so that we don't cause congestion within the city with traffic, with people commuting to work and the like, to the extent people continue to commute to work. Where would you have put our 2,400 and change new residential units, or at least the overlay, the residential overlay for those units, if you were either on the planning commission or if you were recommending where to do so on the planning commission?
That's a tough one. It's, where to put people with, it would depend. It has too many variables there to, really, that's a tough decision. That's more of what the council member would be for. But to say that, is it all for low-income housing or is it just for?
80% market rate, 20% affordable, different degrees of affordable.
It would depend on the needs of the city and where it would best serve the city.
Well, the city needs 0 new residents.
I agree. That's a tough one. I really couldn't.
Let me ask you, would you put any of the new overlays, would you recommend, because that is what the planning commission had to do, is make some recommendations on this. Would you recommend any of the new housing overlays in District 5?
I'm sure District 5 would probably accept its share of it.
Okay, thank you.
There is a large, stuff there where the space program or Northrop Grumman is situated, so I'm not sure where the city boundaries are in relationship to that, or what could be changed into a residential zone, even an R2 or R3. So it depends on what the city's density is and where it would best serve the city. But I can tell you one thing, I would sure like to live a lot closer to the water.
Okay, Councilmember, go for it. Darren?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Beely, Andrew, for coming in tonight. The Planning Commission meets, I think, the third Thursday of every month, and the Public Safety Commission, which you haven't spoken to, but I understand you've applied to as well as your second pick, is, I believe, the third Monday of every month. So third Thursday, third Monday. What would be the earliest that you could start on those nights?
5 o'clock usually. That wouldn't be an issue at all.
All right. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay, Councilmember Nierenham,
So you talked about LA City essentially getting rid of parking in multifamily development.
Yes.
Where are they concentrating this multifamily development? Is it just out of suburban areas like in San Pedro, where just out in the middle of nowhere, or is it anywhere? Are they trying to concentrate them towards certain areas?
It's hard to say. It's wherever the contractor can get a permit for it mostly. Certain areas have different zoning requirements, like they're not going to put residential in like a manufacturing area or something, but those areas can be changed as well. So with change of use or something like that, they could get to possibly change even office buildings into low-income housing. So
It sounds like LAC is going a little bit of a free-for-all in their housing.
sometimes it seems that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Councilman Rabaji brings up a really good point regarding, when you sit on the planning commission, you got to make a lot of these decisions. You can't just kick the can down the road. And then it comes to us and we have to stay here until 4:15 in the morning.
Right.
That's no fun.
Right.
So yeah, it's important you make, decisions and you understand the planning process. The big movement right now afoot is rail, right? We have the green line coming through.
Right.
Any thoughts on the green line option and what they're thinking about doing up there? How that would impact us in our development?
I think they're going to, when the green line comes through, I think it's basically set in place. One of my neighbors works on the environmental impact reports for that and stuff. So he's like, yeah, it's coming through no matter what. So
Yeah.
I think having green line, I think rail like that for transportation would be a great boon to the whole LA basin. And the further it gets up through, into LAX or through the valley and downtown Pasadena and other areas like that, I think the better it would be for everyone.
Yeah. You work for LA City. My hat's off to you.
Yeah,
It's a beast.
it's a lot of great people work with LA City.
Yeah.
And I'm really lucky to have the position I do.
That's awesome. Thank you, sir.
And I'd be looking forward to serving the city of Redondo Beach anyway. Good.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
thanks for your interest. Yeah, you're really,
Right.
you got 17 years with the city, and
Yeah.
I have 19 years with the school district, with LA Unified, and I have 7 years with the city of Los Angeles as an inspector.
How interested would you be in public safety? Because, you know, there's a ton of applications for planning commission and public works as well. I know you fit well with public works, your experience.
Wherever I can help out.
Thank you a million for that.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
yeah, thanks for coming down. Annika Blair, is Annika Blair here? Welcome.
Good evening. How are you all?
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I'm happy to be here. So
Excellent.
I imagine you want to hear a little bit about me?
No, we're just.
No? You know enough? You want to shoot the breeze?
You're on.
All right. No, so over 30 years, resident of Redondo Beach. Very proud Seahawk and love the fact that I was able to grow up here in this beautiful city. And I appreciate all the work that you all do to continue to make it a beautiful place for all of us to live. Professionally, I work for T-Mobile and I am a senior strategy partner. I develop strategies for our functional business
City of
units.
what? I'm sorry.
For T-Mobile.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I work for T-Mobile and I develop strategies for our various functional groups around diversity, equity, and inclusion, making sure that all of our employees feel like they have a seat at the table and a path forward. I know that the term diversity, equity, and inclusion can be a little bit divisive right now, but we talk about it in terms of belonging and fairness. At the end of the day, we all want to belong and we all want to be treated fairly, regardless of where we're at. And so I build bespoke strategies based on their demographics of their organization, challenges that their employees have voiced, and looking at their organization as a whole and seeing what we can do to help improve it.
Excellent. Any questions for?
Sure.
Go for it.
Ms. Blair, did you hear the question that I posed to Mr. Beely about the, where he would allocate the 2,400 units? Do you have
Yeah,
any thoughts on that?
I think that's a gotcha question, but it is, it's a tough question for sure.
I mean, hold on, just for fairness, since you called it a gotcha question, it's a question we all had to answer.
We all had to answer, right? It's a
Okay.
tough question. And I feel for all of you for having to answer that because it's a hot potato within the city, right? And nobody wants that potato in their hands.
I think it's more important, correct me if I'm wrong, how would you make that decision?
How would I make that decision?
Sure.
is
I don't mean
important.
to-
Yeah,
Sure.
so
Maybe
how
we'll
I
get-
would
Because
make
we've
that
already
decision.
made the decision.
Yeah, the decision's made, right? But I think it's important to understand, evaluate everything that you have on the table, right? So where do we have vacancies? That was the number one question I was asking people. Where in District 1 and 2 would you put that housing? Where's the space? Understanding the impact, right, that you have. What risks are you creating? To your point, the traffic. My wife commutes from Avenue A to Flower, downtown LA. It's a tough drive. They go through every single day. And to see that happen is difficult, right? So you have to weigh all of those various things. It's also difficult when you think about the school impacts in districts 4 and 5, right? So how do you take all of those things into consideration? I think you ask a lot of questions and you try to do your best to balance it when you weigh all of those variables. And I don't know all the tools that the Planning Commission had at their hands when they made that decision. I would have loved to have been in the room, but I think there's a lot of the variables that you have to consider there.
Thank you.
Yeah, the city spent a lot of time and money on how to create a certified housing element, is what it's called, and where we put those in the state housing and community development. We had to go through several iterations where they didn't agree with us, and then they finally accepted it. I think we spent $1 million, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, Councilmember.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for coming in today. Quick question. You have applied for, I believe, the Planning Commission and Parks and Recs, if I'm right, and then also Public Safety? Okay. And those commissions meet at 6:30 and one of them at 7 o'clock on the second Wednesday. What would be the earliest that you could participate in a meeting if they were to be earlier?
Yeah, generally I'm available after 4:30 p.m. provided I'm not traveling for work.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
I think this is the first time I've seen your application come through.
Pardon?
Is this the first time I've seen your application come through?
I believe so.
I'm impressed. You've been around for a while. You've very well spoken. You understand the issues very well. You have planning here as your first choice, but you also have Rec and Parks. So the Rec and Parks dealt with a little bit of an issue. That's with dogs in the park, dogs in the city,
Everywhere.
everywhere. I work on the beach. I see dogs everywhere.
On the Esplanade, in the parks, on the beach, at the pier. It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. And in fact, I just had this conversation with someone else in another city, actually. And it's gone from enforcement and education on the beaches to nothing because people have become very knowledgeable on ways to get around. What are your thoughts on just dogs, in the harbor, on the beach, in parks, and in general? Keeping in mind, there's no such thing as bad dogs, only bad dog owners, right?
Yeah, I agree, 100%. I'm a dog lover. I should preface it with that. I also believe in the rules are the rules, right? So the rules currently state no dogs allowed, then there's no dogs allowed. I'd love to bring my dog, but I can't. I also think areas like the pier are not healthy for dogs. It's not wise to have a dog in a place like the pier. There's no place for them to go to the restroom. It's unsafe. There's crowds, all of those things, right? Again, you have to look at all of the places, all the things that are happening. Now with the new amenities plan, there may be places where we could, create space for that for sure. If there were places, I think they call them like the barking lot in the Ontario airport, where you can take your dog to go to the restroom or something like that. Like create the right space for the environment you want, then do it so that it's safe for everybody and everybody understands the rules. That's my thought. I mean, I'm not opposed to dogs in parks, those sorts of things. I also coach softball or have coached in the past at Redondo Sunset, and it's not fun to have your little league outfielders running around and step in it as they're trying to shag a ball. So that ruins the day for everybody at that point. So I think there's balance there. And I think it's a case by case. It's not fun to say it's a case by case. I'd love to say, yes, dogs everywhere. My parents got tickets for $150 for having Great Danes on the beach at Topaz when I was a kid. And I remember that vividly. They got multiple tickets for it. So they didn't follow the rules. I do. Kind of go from there. Right?
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any more questions? Well, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I appreciate you
y'all.
coming down and your enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And your long-time tenure in the city of Redondo Beach. Yeah. Okay, next up is Jason Conroy. Is Jason Conroy with us? Is Jason Conroy on Zoom?
No.
Okay, moving right along, Wayne Craig. Wayne Craig, I think I see Mr. Craig out there. First choice is Planning Commission, second choice is Harbor Commission. So step right up. Tell us why you want to be on the Planning Commission or the Harbor Commission.
Well, first off, good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me to address you this evening in consideration for an appointment to a commission. You've seen me here many times at council meetings speak about a variety of important topics, but you might know very little about my background and professional experience. I'm a Redondo Beach native. I was born in the city on April 29th, the same day the city was founded, not the same year. And for the past 26 years, it has been my home. My family attended Alta Vista, Paris, and Redondo Union High School. Our newest family member, born about 60 days ago, will be a third-generation Redondo Beach School alumni. I have vast knowledge and experience about Redondo Beach, co-authored numerous positions for ballot measures, and co-led the effort for a significant one in 2017. Most recently, during the last election, I co-authored the argument for the cannabis tax ballot measure, CT. I also wrote the argument in favor of adding gender-neutral language to our city charter, ballot measure CA. Both passed with large margins. Professionally, I have extensive knowledge of zoning, building, operations, real estate, contracts, security and safety management, contingency planning, and emergency recovery. For the last 20 years, I've been intimately aware of the needs of residents as a realtor and developer. I have a unique job compared to a lot of people, as I actively help people make Redondo Beach their home. Over my career, I have been involved in projects in all of the beach cities, Torrance, Palos Verdes Peninsula, LA City, as well as LA County, Ventura County, San Bernardino County, Orange County, and Inyo County. That's up near Mammoth, in case you didn't know. Other notable professional achievements in my position is that I've been nominated by my peers for Citizen of the Year by the South Bay Association of Realtors multiple times, and served on the grievance committee, which reviews and processes ethics violations of agents. Prior to that, I worked in the corporate world as a regional director for a division of Brinks Armored Transport, a Fortune 500 company. My job involved managing over 500 employees, 8,500 ATMs, and $500 million each week of clients' property in the form of cash. Beyond business, contract law, operations, and critical thinking, my duties included disaster response and business recovery. Those skills were put to the test severely during 9/11 when we needed to keep cash in circulation to prevent the economy from collapsing. Other important items to note are I'm a graduate of the Redondo Beach Citizen Police Academy, class 45. I'm on the board of the Redondo Beach Roundtable. I'm a 23-year member of the Redondo Beach Elks Lodge, and I regularly volunteer and support the South Bay Parkland Conservancy. I also currently serve as an alternate on the Redondo Beach Charter Review Committee and a past member of the Redondo Beach Chamber of Commerce and current member of the Hermosa Beach Chamber of Commerce. Like most residents, I want a safe and comfortable place to live, great schools, a thriving business community, and a place where the quality of life is improving. My commitment to the community is seen by my actions, not just words. I'm volunteering for a commission to give something back to the generations to come. If I'm privileged to serve, I bring extensive skills and an open and objective mind to make fair and honest decisions. Anyway, I thought I'd give you a little bit, I know it's a little bit more, but a lot of people, they're surprised when I tell them I used to work for Brinks. So anyway.
Yeah, you failed to mention that you're getting sued by the developer for your support of Measure C. Mr. Craig has me down as a reference, as well as Councilmember Nierenheim, as well as Councilmember Lowenstein, FYI, and extensive experience. Let me just say this, you guys, you kind of work up to getting on the Planning Commission. Planning Commission and Harbor Commission are kind of the premier commissions to serve on, and most people serve on, commission before that or active before that, which is demonstrated with Mr. Craig. So don't, right now there are no openings unless I don't reappoint people for the Planning Commission, and yet that's the number one wanted commission to people to serve on. So all I'm saying is, for those of you that apply for Planning Commission, don't be disappointed if you get it, but you get involved and you work your way up to that kind of. But the real decisions, they have entitlement authority, frankly. Projects come to them and they get approved and they never see the city council. Same with Harbor Commission. The Shade Hotel, everybody know the Shade Hotel down here? That never came to the city council. That was approved by the Harbor Commission and didn't get appealed, and there you go. So the Harbor Commission and Planning Commission have tremendous authority. So it helps to have somebody with extensive experience that Mr. Craig has, or some of you. And sometimes it's good to have people have no experience because it brings a fresh perspective. So I'm just trying to give you an idea, the spectrum of people that get appointed to these various commissions. So anyway, I certainly don't have any questions. But anyway, anybody, Councilmember Obaji?
Well, I guess the one procedural one before I get to Mr. Craig, but isn't there going to be an opening on the Planning Commission? Because as I understand it, Commissioner Godek is not seeking reappointment and her term expires in September.
Well, that's what it says here, but I was asked if I was going to appoint her. So I hear what you're saying.
So do we have a clarification on that? Is she interested in the reappointment and just didn't RSVP for interviews, or she's not interested?
I'm not sure. Let me find that information for you before the end of the meeting.
Because on our sheet here, it says no longer interested. So, all right. Mr. Craig, I see that you also put down the Harbor Commission. What excites you about either the planning or harbor commission?
Well, I mean, planning is more, I guess, my preference because I think I'm more qualified for that. I have a lot of experience in planning more than I probably do in the harbor, even though I was a big proponent for a lot of things in the harbor. I've learned a lot, but I think my forte really is in planning, just from interfacing with building and safety departments in all the cities I mentioned. I mean, they're all different. And I think one of the things I was talking to a person recently, they asked me, well, which city is the hardest to work with when you're trying to get a project going? And ironically, the hardest one is actually Palos Verdes Estates. And it's not because of the planning commission. It's not because of the zoning. It's because of the art jury. There's an art jury that actually is a separate little citizen committee who unilaterally makes or arbitrarily makes decisions whether you could do something. And for example, I had a project where they held up the whole project because one window we had was a 1/4 inch too wide on one side on a house that you'd see from 50 feet away in the street. And there was a little bit of a color thing on the side. I found the best way to deal with that is when you're presenting a project, you show up with some coffee and some donuts and you have a talk and things get done.
Nice. That's all.
Okay, Councilmember Barron.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Craig, for coming in.
Thank you.
Harbor Commission meets, I think, the second Monday of every month at 6:30, and the Planning Commission, third Thursday, 6:30. What, if those times were to change, what would be the earliest that you could start work on those?
I'm pretty flexible. I mean, I'm self-employed, so I pretty much can schedule my own hours. So that, I mean, I can as early as 5 possibly. That will be a problem. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty flexible in that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any more questions?
Yeah, let me ask you, it's been an unfortunate pleasure being a fellow defendant. Thank you.
You are my council member, so we have that connection
We
too.
do have that connection as well. I can't get away from you. So what would you do with, you've seen the Legal development going up, development in District 1 overall. Down the street from you, the church that was converted to 10 units, I want to say, 11 units, 8 units right in there. When it comes to the AS site, what do you see down there in the AS site?
Well, I think we have to look at, kind of answer a question that I done before with Councilman Rabaji. He was like, well, obviously we were being mandated to increase housing in various places in the city and where it makes sense and where it doesn't make sense. And we really have to look at one of the most important concerns that I know from everyone at Redondo Beach is traffic, congestion, and safety. Obviously in the AS site, a friend of mine asked me a bunch of questions recently about it. And I said, well, right now it's zoned as parkland and it has a conditional use permit as a power plant. And that's the reason why when they did the RENA numbers, it wasn't even considered because how much longer is it going to generate power? Is it even an area that we can even develop in that way? And add to that, to develop that, to even make it habitable for human habitation, is going to require a lot of serious remediation. That's been a power plant for 80 or 100 plus years. It's probably has so many pollutants and toxins, and at one point it burnt coal. When you burn coal, there's some pretty nasty stuff that gets into the soil. So I don't know how realistically that is as far as housing. Again, we have to work within the constraints of the law, and we can't just arbitrarily say we want something or other. We have to really look at the big picture. And with Legato, that was a case in point where we had zoning that restricted what we could actually change, and so the developer was well within their rights to really bring through because we didn't have zoning contrary to that. And I think that just gets back to, in hindsight being 2020, years ago, we probably should have looked at that as a potential problem and maybe started working at it, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Craig. Next up is Crystal Deckman. Crystal, are you here? Crystal, welcome. Crystal's first choice is Recreation and Parks. What is your second choice? Your second choice is Public Safety.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I am a lifelong resident of the South Bay. I was born in Long Beach, but I grew up in Torrance, and I went to West High. And I've lived here the majority of my life. I left once for work. I lived in Orange County for a while, but I came back because I missed it. So I live in District 2. And I am currently looking to volunteer. I recently retired at the end of May. And so I'm looking for different ways that I can volunteer my time. I'm very fitness oriented and I like to play sports. I like to visit our parks. I like to walk and hike and do different programs with the recreation departments of different cities. So I find that I'm spending time, researching things I can do with my retirement, and I'm finding that Redondo has a limited amount of things that they offer for classes and things like that. So that would be something that I would like to see more of from Redondo instead of giving my money to other cities like Torrance. From a work perspective, before I retired, I was in the international trade and logistics business, and I was an executive at the vice president level for about 20 years. And what that is I'm licensed by Customs and Border Protection as a licensed customs broker, and we considered ourselves like travel agents for freight. So we would help importers understand the laws on how to import things into the US, and we would help them and coordinate and get their shipments through. So I spent about 37 years in that industry, and now I'm just looking to do something more locally, volunteer my time more with the city. I really enjoy Redondo Beach. I've lived in Redondo Beach for the past 9 years, but I think I've lived in every city in the South Bay. So yeah, I don't have any city experience of volunteering, but I did volunteer for a trade association called the Foreign Trade Association for about 10 years. I was on the board of directors and I chaired their membership committee. So I'm very familiar with volunteering my time, and that's not a problem at all. So really looking for something to do other than sports and fitness, something where I can still use my brain and bring some value to the community.
Yeah, no, thank you for all that, Crystal. You're eminently qualified, obviously, very professional. I'll just take the opportunity to educate people that Redondo Beach is considered park poor. That includes the beaches. USC did, what was this name of the study? Sustainable Cities, Study for Sustainable Cities. And they ranked us with South LA as one of the most park poor communities in the 5 counties they studied. We only have 2.3 acres per 1,000 residents. And that includes the beaches. And that's declining because our population is going up and our park acreage is not going up. So that's one of the reasons I've been such a strong advocate for the AS site as a park, because that's our big opportunity. And that would be the only waterfront park in the entire Santa Monica Bay. And that's why Senator Ben Allen and Assemblyman Almer Tsuchi and various other people have been supportive of that. And that's why I ran for office. And the other thing I want to encourage people, even if you don't get on a commission, you can absolutely still participate in the city. I mean, I really was only an activist. And I should say only an activist because as an activist, you can actually do a lot more and be a lot more open sometimes as an activist and not a commissioner or even a council member. Believe it or not, you can gain, learn a lot and just paying attention and participating. Yeah, what you're interested in. So I guess, what district do you live in, Crystal, too, you said? Yeah. So you're familiar with what's going on with the AS site at all, or?
I follow it a little bit, but I don't know it in detail. I would have to.
Hopefully it's shutting down for good at the end of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was supposed to be shut down at the end of 2020, but of course they had the blackouts, and then, they extended 4 power plants that were supposed to retire. The Public Utilities Commission, the California Energy Commission, and various other agencies decided to extend it. So, but it looks like because AS Redondo's not on the list anymore. So that's our big opportunity to increase park space, which is why it's only zoned for park space and power generation conditional use. So, anyway, that's my opportunity to educate people. But thank you for coming down and trying to get involved. So any questions, anybody for Crystal? Sorry, you guys have only been here 14 years and figured this out yet. So. This is
the new system. What kind of programs would you bring to Redondo?
Well, right now I've been looking for some beginner art programs and painting, things like that. And the only place I'm finding them right now is El Segundo is offering that. So that would be one thing. Another thing I'm doing is I'm taking pickleball lessons, and I'm doing that with the city of Torrance. And so I think that would be a great income producer. But I know there's a lot of disagreement about the pickleball courts in Redondo.
We got pickleball courts. We're building them.
Yeah, so open play, lessons, things like that could be a great moneymaker.
I actually just found the spot just the other day. Took pictures of it. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Why don't you go?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about pickleball. Where do you play in the city? And then where do you see opportunities to put courts?
Well, right now I'm taking lessons at Wilson Park, and I do open play at Walteria in Torrance. And then I'm also going to El Segundo and Westchester.
And are those dedicated just pickleball courts that you play at?
Westchester shares with tennis, and El Segundo has dedicated, but I think they also share some of their courts too. And then Wilson Park has dedicated, and Walteria is shared.
Okay. And other spaces in Redondo, you see opportunity for pickleball?
I think I would have to look at the parks, and I know that there's some new courts coming with the lines that are shared with the basketball courts. And so I'd have to understand that a little bit better. But I mean, I would think that there's enough space at some of our parks. I can't answer that today.
Thank you.
Right, yes. Ms. Steckman, I think your comment actually highlights what Ms. Allen said, which is we need to dedicate more money to economic development so we can afford to do the things that El Segundo and Torrance are doing
Yeah.
relative to their classes and their courts. But one issue that came up during our strategic planning in the city was that while we have not a great amount of floor area of park, like we don't have a ton of space in parks, we do have many small parks, including the neighborhood parkettes. And so one issue we're gonna have to grapple with in the future is, do we pay many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to replace the playground equipment there? Or do we retire the playground equipment there and convert them into native gardens, pickleball courts, or something else that's less expensive to maintain? How would you go about, consistent with kind of the ethos the mayor set forth earlier, how would you go about making that decision as to what parks, parkettes, small parks to retire or convert, and to what to convert them? If you're on the Parks and Recs Commission.
Yeah, I think we'd have to get input from the residents that live in that area, because I know that pickleball can be loud, and so there definitely would have to be some rules around when it starts and when it ends. But I think it would be just getting public participation, talking with the council members of each district and what you think, and making a decision based on the feedback from the community. The pickleball community is pretty large as well, and so it's just a balance of trying to find the right fit. I was reading online too that they are now looking at malls for pickleball. So something like the Galleria, if we could find someone that would want to put pickleball courts into the Galleria, that would be a great idea as well, if we need tenants for that.
Would the pickleballers pay rent?
Well, I'm not that familiar with how it would
Right,
set up,
yeah.
but I know I'm paying to, when I go to Westchester, I'm paying to play,
Got it.
so, yeah.
Anyone else? Councilmember Bear?
Thank you. Yes. Well, thank you, Ms. Deckman. Just a quick question. The Recreation and Parks Committee, I believe, meets on the second Wednesday of every month, and Public Safety the third Monday. What would be the earliest time of day that you could start a meeting?
I'm flexible, so I'm retired, so I could start at any time.
Good to know. Thank you.
That's always nice to hear. And pickleball is really taking off. Is this a fad, or is this here to stay, because
I think it's here to stay.
I think it's here to
Yeah.
stay?
I think it's addictive. Like, once you start, like, everyone kind of poo-poos it, and the tennis players don't like it.
Not everybody. We had a room full of people down there.
Yeah. But once you start playing, it's so fun, and it's such a social sport. And it's great exercise, and it's really easy to learn.
Like you said, it's noisy, and so, Redondo Beach is very densely populated, and most of the parks are in densely populated areas. But one place that people don't ever talk, they always want to talk about the AES power plant. Well, the power lines are coming down before the power plant comes down. And I saw this happen down in San Diego. And you get much more land under the power lines that is going to become available for things like that in less densely populated areas. We already did a study, or Edison did a study for us on taking down the power lines. And that's going to, as it happened in Chula Vista, I saw a video of a helicopter, the power lines away long before that power plant came down. So that might be an opportunity coming up that everybody should keep in mind. Anyway, I hope you'll stay involved regardless. As you can see, it's tight on getting on these commissions, but somebody like you would be a perfect fit. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you for taking the time. Do you have another question?
Quick comment, last question. Our city treasurer, actually, Eugene Solomon, talked to me and actually has brought up with already to the South Bay Social District to convert some of the indoor spaces to pickleball. Because like you said, what's the recent one that just went belly up, Coles, I want to say? They're converting a lot of those to indoor pickleball with some of the other aspects of it. And a lot of tennis shops are selling pickleball equipment. So there's a lot of stuff happening in the city when it comes to that, a lot of opportunity. And tennis players, pickleball players get along.
Yeah.
Especially the retailers. So, yeah. Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Dick. We really appreciate it. Nice meeting you. Okay, next up is Gilbert Escontreras. Gilbert, are you out there? There he is. Public safety is your first choice, if I'm reading this right. Suspension,
And
Appeals Board, and then Recreation and Parks.
yeah, that doesn't work, reappointment to the Parks and Rec. I'm currently a commissioner in the Parks and Rec
Right.
as well.
Do you want to leave that and go to public safety?
If I could,
Anything can happen. We got a lot of applications for public works. Recreation and Parks. So,
okay.
Absolutely.
Good evening, my name is Gil Escontreras, and I applied for the position within public safety. I have over 45 years in law enforcement, basically starting in the U.S. military as a military dog handler, where I started my dog training career as well. I did 36 years with the Los Angeles Police Department, and I had generally the usual assignments there, most of it which are investigative. My first assignment generally was high school undercover. My last assignment after 36 years was child pornography. So I kind of joked that I started my career as a 16-year-old boy looking for drugs in the high school when I was 26, and I ended my career as a 13-year-old little girl on the internet looking for love, but at age 60. So within my usual assignments there, I've worked art theft, I was an art theft detective, I worked pawn shops. I was also the officer in charge of a unit that followed and arrested organized theft groups as well. I was also for 5 years also the officer in charge of the mental evaluation unit for LAPD.
Of the what? I'm sorry?
Mental evaluation unit. Basically, we have currently now 15, we generally refer to as a co-response model between a mental health clinician and a law enforcement officer that responds to mental health situations. So as the watch commander there, I was responsible for up to 5 to 10 teams that will go out every day, 7 days a week within LA to respond to people with, suffering from mental illness as well. And we'd also respond to the tactical operations as well when a person was a barricaded suspect. Okay. Within that, I also was the officer in charge of the training unit. I developed the mental health programs for teaching law enforcement officers how to deal with people with mental illness. I developed Introduction to Mental Illness for Dispatchers course the introduction to mental illness for tactical officers as well as one for correctional officers, basically teaching officers how to deal with people in mental illness and how, and also as well, how to deal with their own issues concerning crisis intervention as well. I've also, within my 36 years, worked in task forces on the federal level as well. I was on loan to the FBI working undercover for cargo theft. And then my last 5 years, I was embedded with the Homeland Security. And we also had an FBI agent as the senior investigator for the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. So for 5 years, I worked child pornography. Parallel to that, while in the military, I became a dog trainer. I had trained dogs in the military. I was in the military for a total of 13 years. And my job was to train dogs and to train military people in working with dogs in the military. So I ended up parlaying that into a business. And so for probably about 45 years now, I've been training dogs, and actually was a vendor for the city of Redondo Beach, did the dog training at the dog park as well. Okay. So in all that, when I retired at 36 years, probably 4 years ago, I developed a program for the Los Angeles Police Department on therapy dogs. So my business currently now is a nonprofit that we provide therapy dogs for law enforcement, first responders. We have contracts with LAPD. We have 15 dogs at LAPD. We have 3 dogs at LA County Sheriff, and we are now negotiating with the California Highway Patrol, and we are in very tentative talks with the Redondo Beach Unified School District. We're putting dogs in there at no cost to the agency. We pay for everything. So along those lines, it's called basically, you want to call it employee wellness is important. That's why we started the company. When I retired, my big goal was to drive a lawnmower at the dog park and to do that in my retirement, but I went back and did that. Again, officer wellness is very important to me. In fact, I spent the better part of this morning with the office mates of an officer who killed himself yesterday with LAPD. So we take the dogs in, we understand that, we embrace, again, more of a wellness program that we do. Also within my law enforcement career, I was also a volunteer at the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office, the dispute resolution program. I was there when you were there. I ran the tobacco enforcement program at the City Attorney's Office when you were there. And also for 5 years, I was working at the Los Angeles City Mayor's Crisis Response Team as an instructor, as well as working in the Mayor's Crisis Response Team there as well. Okay. I currently teach, and actually previously taught for the police officer standards of training. I used to teach interview and interrogation techniques to detectives, as well as art theft, how to conduct an art theft investigation, working undercover and such. And I currently work very part-time on a program called Suicide by Cop. And it teaches law enforcement agencies throughout the country as far as how to deal and how to investigate a suicide by cop incident. For example, Inglewood Police Department, we've trained them for the past 3 years. 65% of all their officer-involved shootings involved in suicide by cop issue.
65%?
65%. We track that now.
Unbelievable.
65% of all suicide by
No,
cops,
officer-involved shootings,
officer-involved shootings are suicide by cops.
suicide by cop. So it's kind of a little more unique areas to be able to reduce litigation. Also, and one of the biggest things, one is understanding of how that dynamic occurs, and also the rehabilitation of an officer who's involved in a situation like that, for a crisis situation like that. One of the things I look at, again, in working with the dogs and stuff, is the holistic approach of how police officers deal with a lot of different situations. Again, I do have extensive experience with LAPD, but being on this Public Safety Commission, by no way am I looking to make them LAPD or to bring things up. I generally like to embrace things of saying, let's see how you do it, and then let's figure out if it's probably the best way. One of the things in working I did with the Internet Crimes Against Children was that we actually was the primary agency that ran 75 other agencies throughout 5 different counties. So I would have to look at all the cases and then pass them out. So in dealing with these different agencies, I also learned how to work with smaller and mid-level and even actually larger law enforcement agencies, and learning that there's a lot of different ways of doing things, and that larger agencies do not always have the corner of how to do things right. Redondo Beach is unique. The community is unique. The police department is unique. Okay, so being able to approach it sometimes and asking the right questions, but not only asking the right questions, but asking the questions the right way. Because sometimes when you're told something, it's like, yeah, kind of, kind of, sort of, but there's a whole lot of different ways. Again, working all the way from a street officer to a mid-level supervisor, and I supervised 15 officers. And then the detectives kind of gives you a little bit more of insight of how they can operate as well.
Well, I hate to interrupt you. I mean, you're eminently qualified for public safety
And with the parks,
commissioner.
with the parks, as far as that goes, I have been for 22 years working at the dog park. Every Wednesday morning, I go there with my rake, or most Wednesday mornings, and I rake it. We've been working there. It is a nonprofit. And what we try to do is to figure out what's the best way of working with dogs and getting people there to be not only safe, but most importantly informed as to
That's what I wanted to ask you about. As a recreation and parks commissioner, what did you find, most challenging? I guess I know the dog park is, it's a nonprofit. By the way, I noticed Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones gave you $500. How'd that happen?
Well, okay.
Just to get off the subject for a second and make this a little more fun, Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones
Actually, the other
contributed $500 to your dog park.
I think Mick Jagger gave us a few dollars as well. Yeah, the Stones, yeah.
I thought you were dropping names.
Somebody knows the Stones.
Yes. Well, initially, actually, that kind of came about as a little bit, and that's as to probably why I applied the last time, was because there was a little bit less communication between the dog park and the Parks and Rec Commission, as well as staff. And so we had not been getting any, well, we did get some support, but it's not as much as we thought we should, and didn't have any money. A lot of the money that we were paying to buy supplies was coming out of our pocket.
So did you see how the city could have helped out more?
They have probably in the past 5 years. I'll be quite honest with you, we have seen a remarkable difference in, most importantly, the communication.
Well, yeah, and I think that a lot of that has to do with you and the other members.
Well,
I know you don't think so, but
again, I'm not Mr. Congeniality, but I think there was a lot of other factors involved in it, certain people leaving within the city and the changes that went on. I think, and then
it got more attention.
More people that were willing to listen. Yeah. And then that was the biggest thing. But because we didn't get the money.
You, man. We got to get you.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So let me see if there's any questions. I mean, you're in.
And I'm available any day because I'm retired. Mission comes first.
Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say you have a tremendous LAPD background, right?
Yes.
And you're currently in a Parks and Rec.
Yes.
And you enjoyed that, but you want to transfer over to public safety, which is more your forte.
If necessary, but the mission comes first.
Is that what you want to stay? You want to stay in public?
I would, if there's an opening and I could serve better in your eyes, then fine.
What is your best case?
The public safety.
Okay, right. You've done a phenomenal job at where you've been at with with Parks and Rec. I do feel that you're a better fit for public safety because of your qualifications. And I just want to end with thank you very much for all the things you've been doing for the dog park and the volunteering and everything else you do in the city. We are in constant contact. When Mayor Brand says that, no one ever calls them and be like, ever see my phone? You know what that's about. I appreciate all the work you do for the city, Gil. I really do. It's residents like you that make sure we are on our top notch. And I just wanted to thank you for that. Appreciate it.
I may not always agree with you, but I thank you also for listening.
You're welcome.
I think that's the good part. And again, that's why I think in the past 5 years that people are starting to listen.
Right. Do we get tickets to the next Stones concert for doing that?
I can't even get them.
It's a joke, folks. Not a very good one, apparently. Any council member have any questions? Well, thank you, Gilbert. No, really, for all your service and stepping up yet again. we're lucky to have, we have quite a qualified group of people here. It's really impressive, so. Anyway, moving right along, give me a second here, folks. Luis Fuentes, is Luis Fuentes here tonight? Is he on Zoom, Laura? Luis Fuentes?
No, he's not in Zoom. And Eleanor has confirmed that the spreadsheet that you have, the resignation for today has been included on the spreadsheet.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Still under consideration, you still got the application in, so the fact that you can't make it up on a particular night for the interviews. Yeah, not disappointing us. Teresa Galvez here tonight? She wants to be on, yeah, come on down, Teresa. She wants to be on the Housing Authority. We have an opening right now in the Housing Authority.
I'm sorry, Lori, you said that where it says no longer interested as to go deck. That means she's no longer interested or she just couldn't make it?
I'm sorry, no. You were asking about the resignation
I don't know.
of Daniel Marinelli?
No, I'm asking about Gwen Godek.
Gwen Godek. Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Let me go ahead and ask and see what she says.
Cool, thank you.
Welcome, Louise. Thank you.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Brown.
Tell us about your background and why you're interested in being on the Housing Authority.
Mr. Obagi Weinstein, her Henry. I can't pronounce all of those names, but thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Thank you, good evening.
So, I don't have that much experience like everybody had before. All your
Nobody does
candidates.
have the experience.
I also retired, and I actually live right now in a single family dwelling here in Catalina and Garnet. And yes, I would like to, well, my experience, I have a lot of certificates, just AA certificate, general education, and took a lot of classes at El Camino. So I got another certificate, CNA. But what I can say about this, I would like to help the people here. I think Mr. Obagi had a question. He said about where to put people than when you have a lot of people coming in. And since I attending churches like St. James, sometimes American Martyrs, actually I belong to some American Martyrs, but St. James, not too long ago, bought a very expensive lot before Cabot. Cabot is across the street. It's an empty space, and it's empty now. So I was thinking if I know it could be something temporary, some transitory, that you can, I don't know, maybe it can be permanent. I'm not sure, but you can talk to the Monsignor Mike. But why not in the area? I know you mentioned that maybe by the freeways, but why don't we look for places where are empty and it's a big lot where they bought for many millions, I don't know how many millions, but as churches around, I think also St. Lawrence, but that's in Torrance, right? But I know St. James needs the money now. Well, anyway, I just have ideas. I just write, what I do for hobby is just I write poems. I'm anti-poems too, whatever. But people like it. I'm just doing something for fun. I like to do the Zumba classes they have here at Veterans Park. I like bicycle. I like to go with my friends sometimes. We go to a place for dancing. So I'm just like, right now, I'm not doing much, so I have time to maybe help out people who don't have a home, and they come to Redondo Beach and they're looking, actually they are by the pier, Like this lady that I met, her name is Barbara. And she actually came from, I don't know what state, but she had a master's in something. And finally, I heard that she's in Gardena. And they sent her to Long Beach for 2 weeks. And she told me she had 3 meals per day, but then back again to Redondo Beach Pier. But now she's at Gardena. I don't know how long it's going to be there, that I might see her again in Redondo Beach. But I talk to those people and get to know, also I got to know Rayleigh, who's here too. And
Let me ask you a question, Teresa. Are you
I took
familiar?
excuse me.
I
Why
was
are
gonna
you
ask
laughing?
are you familiar with our Section 8 program?
Yes, I have a certificate in social work also. I didn't get my bachelor's because it was too expensive for me to pay. I didn't get financial aid, so I had to pay $800 for two classes from my own money. But anyway, but I have a lot of certificates only.
Right.
But I'm familiar with that. But I know you might even have more people coming from other countries. Maybe you might end up having a situation where you need to really find places to put people in
Yeah,
this
there are a lot of
area.
people out there in need, no question about that.
Yeah, and that's why I was thinking
Yeah,
about
we have
maybe.
a housing counselor on field, Lila, and yeah, been very active in the community,
Who's
helping people. We have, what's Lila's title?
Housing navigator.
Yeah, housing navigator.
Yes.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, we're doing a lot of stuff that you're talking about.
Yes, I know you do. There's a lot of help for those
good.
people.
Are there any
But-
questions for Teresa? You guys on the council? Go ahead, Scott.
I did. Thank you, Ms. Glavis. Am I pronouncing that right?
Galvez don't like Galvez, but it's only Galvez.
Chavez.
Okay, the Housing Authority meets on the first Tuesday, 4 times a year. So March, June, September, December, first Tuesday,
Of the year, of every month.
every 4th month, essentially, 4 times a year, so every 3rd month.
Okay.
Yeah. My question is, they start at 6 PM. If they were to start earlier, would you be able to start any earlier than that?
Yes.
Okay.
But I have I have my itinerary right now. I'm going to my country. I'm American Peruvian, and so I know I will be missing a couple dates that you're having the swearing, and I will, and also the training the 26th, because the 26th I'll be at midnight at the airport coming back from my country. So, but I said I'm coming. I didn't want to be a no-show here. So, but why I'm going there, because I have family, and also.
Well, so you are available then
Yes.
to meet every 3rd month.
Yes, yes.
Any more
Yes.
questions?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Any more questions up here, you guys?
You questions?
Well, listen, thank you, Mr. Chavez. I really appreciate you coming down
You're
and,
welcome.
yeah, making yourself available.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Okay, well, this is, it's a Dodak, so it should have been sooner, not Godak. I think it's Gwen Dodak.
Sorry to interrupt. Yes, for Gwen Godek.
Is there a Godak? Gwen, Go?
Yes, Gwen Godek. Eleanor has, she just let me know that she had decided not to reapply.
Oh. Her name isn't Dodak?
Godek.
All right, I stand corrected.
Call Fuentes.
Yes, I called Luis Fuentes, right? Is Luis Fuentes here? I'll try again. Is he on Zoom?
No.
Okay, next up is Chris Hayes. Chris, are you here? For Library Commissioner.
Hey, library.
Yeah, welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Greetings, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. So I was informed about the Library Commission from my neighbor who's stepping off of it. And I'm in a book club with her, and she said, she knows I love the library. So she said it might be a great fit. I've been in the Redondo Beach area for past 12 years, I say. And first time I've really got involved, other than like, I work on the Richtown Center board, stuff like that, but not with the city, other than I coached soccer for years. My brother is regional commissioner for years, so he roped me into that. And
That's the way it usually happens.
yeah, well, you know, my Bob Hayes, so I think he knows you, I think, Mr. Mayor, because I mentioned I was applying for this, and he said, oh, say hi. So, but I, you know, it's interesting because a lot of the other stuff has such finite, other commissions that you're meeting with, such finite knowledge. And the only one that I thought was a good fit for me was the Library Commission. I'm an active reader. I have worked in the publishing and media business most of my career. So whether in advertising, I work for a digital magazine now, I worked for a print publication before this. So it's interesting because obviously it's trying times for libraries with the coming under such, I guess, political scrutiny of what their content is, that I think is an important time for people to band together and support them.
Are you familiar with our library commission? Have you watched any of their meetings or?
Only from what my neighbors told me about, to be frank. I didn't, you know, I know she was involved. I know there's some challenges here that she's been kind of keeping me aware of as far as possible foreclosure or different, talking about closures. And I've always talked about, you know, like more things to do, you know, like trivia nights or, you know, something to get more people coming to it other than just with the world now where you can just buy a book with a click. You know, how do we engage more? So you know, without knowing the parameters, it's hard for me to come up with a solution.
Right.
But I know that right now it's a little bit of a crossroads from what she's told me.
Yeah. Yeah, we get a lot of opportunity, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's such a great building too, and you know, it's so fun to see the kids in there. I mean, you know, I remember I was just thinking of it the other day. I was at I grew up in Palos Verdes, and I remember going to the library and they had a book thing, and you got a balloon, and you know, we read a book, and you read a book, so you got a balloon when you left. So it's just small things, but you know, it's such a happy place for me.
Kids love balloons. Right?
They do, and you know, I think the library is such a, you know, the world awaits there, especially that kids room. The kids get in there and it's so fun to watch them like realize the love of books.
Right.
And so my aunt in Iowa ran the library at her small hometown. So I think I've written my application. I think it's in the genes, and I would love to keep serving, you know, keep the tradition alive.
That's great. Love your enthusiasm.
So
I went to the library on top of the hill right after it was built in the 70s, if you can believe that. Yeah. I
remember going, you know, I mean, I remember looking through microfiche, you know, like,
yeah, right.
You know, and all that. No, I mean,
Most people have no idea what that is.
No, probably not. I mean, there's Google now, so why would you do that? But it is interesting. You know, the interaction with people trying to find stuff that they don't necessarily can find in Google, or, you know, certainly it also serves people who can't afford one click and get a book every week, or every day.
There's some value in the book stacks too, because you end up finding other stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and wow,
and then you find, you know, you get that one author, and then you're like, what else have they written?
Yeah.
And then you go
see something else entirely different, and you forget what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's why I was asking if they have a lot of book clubs, you know, and I don't think they do a lot of that. You know, does each librarian have a book club, or, you know, his recommendations? And I've seen a couple of that, but, you know, I don't know. I love book clubs as far as a concept, but it's hard to find one that, you know, it's just kind of neutral and they actually read the book versus just drinking the wine.
Wait.
No, it can be. I don't mind both, but.
Any questions from council members? Yeah. Go ahead, Scott.
I can meet anytime.
Yeah.
I'm flexible. So I work out of my house mostly. So, but yeah, if you change anything, I mean, even during the day, as long as it's doable, I can get there. So save you that question. So.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. See.
Thank you for your application, Ms. Hayes. Have you spent any time at the North Branch Library?
I've gone once. I was looking for a book that wasn't here, and so I went over there.
Nice, that's once more than me, so.
Yeah, it's an, I think it's
I need
kind
to
of
go. I need to take my
the,
daughter. I need to take my daughter.
what's this, I think it's this, Forgotten Stepchild, and that's why, maybe there are programs to do over there too.
It's beautiful. I see it on Artesia and it looks beautiful and I just need to get.
I drive by it all the time.
I've secured
Check it
funding
out.
for it. We should go to, we're gonna go to self-service shortly here this year supposedly.
Yeah.
But I just have not gotten to go there yet, so.
Well, and that could be where you do something, fun, just for
meeting,
there.
yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
And, this building too is, I think, underused sometimes with what they could do because the meeting room upstairs and, there could be a lot of fun stuff. My brother Bob's mother-in-law works in the sales department in the used store. And I said, how many people come in and buy those books? She's like, so many. I said, what's your biggest order? Because they're like $2 each, $4 each, $1,000.
Dave's old big bookshop across the street from the North Branch Library? No.
No, that one, they sell used books here.
Oh, okay.
Like
got
people
it.
come in and buy $1,000.
Somebody bought 500 books?
Yeah. And they'll,
Incredible.
it's crazy.
Did you pick them out or? Just...
Oh, yeah. So, how about having, the book recommendation? I don't know, it makes money on the side, but I'm sure you're not going to be able to settle the budget or get more money for Parks and Recs from this, but.
Yeah.
It's a good
Any
goal.
more questions
Hope
for
so.
Chris?
So you just hit a nail on the head for something I was going to ask. It's not necessarily about reading books, it's about getting people in the door, getting people involved. Libraries have changed. Some libraries nowadays are renting equipment and tools, right? We do digital rentals. And we have two branches. I've been in the North Branch actually just as many times. In fact, they have stuff up
Take
there.
your fellow
Take him there.
council member.
They've got stuff up there that's different in each library, right?
Yeah.
I've been to the event center actually in both of them. I actually held an event at the North Branch Library. I had a bunch of elected officials to go to that one. How do you see making, or what do you see envisioning to get more people down there specifically, more community members, more events, more book readings, or either one of the
Either
two
one,
or both?
yeah.
It's not just about books anymore, right?
Right. Well, I usually play trivia tonight. And I always think, what if we had a trivia night there? And, that you give people clues for some 4 questions and they have to maybe come in and look for them in a reference book. And I don't know what they've actually tried because the stuff that I've seen, I think has been nice, but then COVID hit. Right. And so a lot of it, I think, they're still maybe not engaging as much as they used to, because I think they used to do some movies, they used to do readings, stuff like that. So I don't know, if they're back full staffed, I don't know if what maybe some barriers to doing more stuff is. But I would think, trying to find stuff that's not your normal, just come and get a book. And
Right.
I'd like to, if I did, was on this, I'd like to see, reach out to see what other libraries are doing that have been so successful because, it really, I think whether it's small town or, bigger libraries, I'm sure we can learn some unique things that are going on that maybe we're not doing here. So, and I did think, right now with I was joking, I said we should do, books that are banned somewhere else that you should read. To Kill a Mockingbird or some of the classics. It's like, these aren't these hideous books. We almost need to get ahead of it. And why should you be reading these books? So, I don't, with the whole digital side and the movies and the the DVDs they have and stuff, what if we did like a fun kids night and bring your popcorn, or you had it out in the wall somewhere, like places used to do the movies outside. So or, you got some event coming up, like the Women's World Cup. What if we had, 10 books about soccer? And they might be doing some of it, but I don't see it as announced. I'm on their email list. I haven't seen much coming out as push out, so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Very qualified. Okay, next up is Matthew Hensley. Is Matthew Hensley here tonight? talked to him earlier today. Is Danny Jimenez here? Danny. There he is, Danny. You're looking to be in the Housing Authority. Welcome.
How are you?
We're all good. Nice shirt.
Oh, thank you. My daughter bought that for me. My name's Danny Jimenez. I grew up born and raised in California. I attended UCLA, graduated from UCLA, veteran of the Navy. And I don't know much about the job other than what I read about attending meetings. And that's all I could tell you.
What took your interest in Housing Authority? I mean, there's a lot of commissions here, and you picked Housing Authority?
Yes.
Any particular reason why you chose the Housing Authority?
No.
Just
sounded interesting, yeah.
Okay.
What was your degree from UCLA?
Theater and history.
Any other questions, you guys? I mean, I appreciate your, all this stuff. Danny, taking an interest. How long you lived in Redondo Beach?
I've been in Redondo Beach now for about 10 years. I'm kind of a writer, working on a novel. So I have a lot of time.
Excellent. What's your novel about?
It's fiction, actually. It's a love story.
Okay.
Can I ask them real quick? Maybe?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we don't meet often, I should say it's not a commission, it's an authority, right? It doesn't meet often, once every quarter. We go over a lot of paperwork. We have an event, and we have an issue in District 1 called Project Moonstone. You're gonna get into the paperwork and get into the details of it and read it and see what's going on? Yeah.
I'm sure I can do as much as anybody else.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what.
Yeah.
I mean, like, lawyerly like? I mean, I'm a law school dropout. I don't know if that helps.
That's actually good. You went to law school more than I did.
Okay, well, other than that, I don't know what you mean as far as like.
Well, like we go over a lot of paperwork and a lot of, we approve like Section 8 housing. We approve a lot of programs, right? I don't have the time to go through all of the minutiae of the details, but it'd be great to see if a commissioner has the time to go through some of those things and gets into it and asks some good questions, because it's nice to have. Commissioner does that.
Okay, so saying there's some reading and evaluation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's cool. That's it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, any other questions? You good? Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Just a quick question, Mr. Jimenez. The Housing Authority does meet quarterly, I think 7 p.m. What time would be the earliest you could begin if that was to change?
It wouldn't matter. I can get there anytime.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Danny. Okay, next up is Yamina Jordan. Yamina Jordan here. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Yamina. Not seeing any Yamina.
Not on Zoom.
Okay. All right, we got our application. Mickey McNerney. Mickey. We've met before, Mickey.
We have, yes.
How long ago was that?
You know what? I've lost all concept of
Likewise.
of time. This
And
last couple
does it
of years.
matter?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It was years ago.
It was, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Mickey McNerney. I now am a resident of Redondo Beach for 8 years. Came from St. Louis, retired real estate broker, and enjoying getting involved. And I've been serving on the Preservation Commission, and am choosing to reapply for that. It's interesting because as I look at the residents in Redondo Beach, I go down to the beach and watch, people are from all walks of life, in every shape and size and age and manner of dress. And it's a real mixed bag, which I like. And as far as the housing goes, Preservation Commission is intended to preserve some of the qualities in our housing that we have. And I want to see that. I don't want to see all the houses look the same. I like seeing things preserved that represent the time in which they were built. And I've enjoyed participating in some of those projects, and I drive by them now, and I like seeing what we're doing with that.
What is that state program? I'm forgetting the name of it, where people get their break on the property taxes because they're preserving. I don't remember the
Oh,
name.
yeah.
It's okay if you don't. It's
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I
Mills
can't.
Act. Mills Act, there you go. But people save on their property taxes. Not a lot, but they can save on their state property taxes for preserving.
Right, right. And sometimes people, when they would apply for preservation, that was their one and only reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm disappointed to hear that, but it's in fact.
To ignite the Mills Act. Or
yeah.
initiate their use of the Mills Act.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, Redondo has a lot of history. A lot of people don't realize.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the oldest cities in the South Bay.
And I look at some of the housing, I'm going, okay, that was post-World War II. You could see, you know, a great influx of things from the 50s, after the war was over and people were getting married and having families. There's a lot of those bungalows that were built, and seeing things representing different periods in our history. And I think we should maintain that and protect that.
No, it's hard to maintain sometimes.
It is. And all of it shouldn't be. If it's not been cared for, maybe it doesn't deserve to be maintained. But there are some, and it's been my pleasure to see some that have been maintained and cared for very well, and they should be able to.
Thanks for hanging in there and reapplying.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it. Any questions, anybody on the council? Councilmember O'Brien.
Yes, Commissioner, sorry, this is
McNeary.
McNeary?
McNeary, yeah.
McNeary. You live in District 1, and you also did apply for the Planning Commission, correct?
I did, I'm sorry?
Did you apply for the Planning Commission as well? I have that on our list. You have that,
Yeah,
right?
back when, because I used to do that sort of thing in St. Louis when I lived before. But yeah, I really think a greater knowledge of the city is important. And I didn't have that when I first applied for the Planning Commission. I thought I had the knowledge, but I didn't have the knowledge of the area as well as I thought I should have.
So my question to you on the planning side is, do you believe that there's an issue with the over mansionization of properties in South Redondo or in District 1 specifically?
Yeah, I do. I don't know. I understand that a lot of people want to live in this city, but we are. I don't want to see the degradation of the city as it was meant to be, and overbuilding and without care for the aesthetics doesn't have any appeal to me at all.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I got something real quick. So
Yeah.
I've watched you guys on the Preservation Commission.
Yes.
Sad to see a lot of old homes go away.
Yeah.
They were A, B, and C and D rated. There's one on the 200 block of one of the avenues. I'm not going to say the address, but I looked at it and I was like, oh. And there was that one house on North Redondo that I fought really hard to preserve. What resources do you guys need in order to preserve some of these homes? I know we just spent like last year, 100 grand, or I think it was this year, last year, 100 grand to do a study to redo the old homes.
Yeah, I don't know, Nils, if I can
Quantify that?
quantify it. I don't know how to quantify that because I don't think everything has a solution they can throw money to. I don't know. There has to be a will from not just the Preservation Commission, but from the homeowner. There has to be a will all the way through that this is an important project to, and quite frankly, some properties are beyond being preserved.
Right.
You know, it's like, it's too late, you know. It would be a complete rebuild. And maybe it's not in the best interest.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for doing that. I see the signs up in lower avenues for your Preservation Commission. notices. And
Yeah.
a little tear happens, and I hope they vote the right way. Hope they can vote the right way, I think is most of the time.
Yeah,
So
right.
thank you very much for doing that, and appreciate the standing up for the old homes and the character of their community. That's what it really
Yeah,
is.
that's important.
And you're Jimmy Kimmel's mother-in-law, correct?
I am.
Here's some more interesting factoid to break the boredom. Not that we're bored,
Yeah, right.
but we do have some, Rolling Stones giving money to the
We have,
Jimmy
yeah.
Kimmel's mother-in-law.
Yeah. We have
Anyway,
some
thank
good
you.
time. Yeah,
Really
thanks.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
I did have a quick question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Councilor Barron.
The commission meets, I think at 6:30 PM or so. What would be the earliest that you could make it if the time was to change?
Yeah, I'm very flexible in that because since moving to Redondo Beach, I am retired also. So I'm available to move that up earlier.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. McNerney.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
all right.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it. Thanks for coming, Mickey. Really appreciate it. Okay, Christina Miller. Is she online?
Yes, she's on Zoom. Christina
On
Miller,
Zoom? Yeah.
you may speak.
Oh, hello. Let me go back to my video. I can't. My video.
Hi,
on?
Christina.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Oh, I do apologize about not being in there in person. Let me see if I can get my video on. Can you see me? No?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
you're not.
Okay.
I can see
It
you on
doesn't
Zoom.
matter.
Can you see?
You can see the picture, but not me. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, no worries.
I had this vacation planned. I'm sadly in Hawaii. Otherwise, I'll be there joining you in person. I do apologize about that, but I want to thank you for making time for me, even though I'm on Zoom, to meet with you guys. Can you
Yeah, we
hear
see
me?
your first pick is budget and finance. Tell us about yourself, Christina.
Okay, so I am a medically retired electrical engineer that worked in aerospace for 18 years. Sadly, I developed cancer in 2018 and it forced me to retire. But why I did work, I worked for Boeing and I managed multi-million-dollar projects, satellite projects. And we did a lot of budgetary planning. When I very first started there, I started there as a system engineer, and then later moved on to other project management types of classes and managed a lot of projects. And so I have a very strong background in managing big budgets, and I have a very strong organizational mind that likes to have things organized, and I'm really good at planning things out. So I think that my background is a great fit for the finance side of things. I would like to mention that back when I was very young, I also got a associate's degree in accounting. Some numbers are kind of my thing, really. So what else can I say about myself? I live in District 3. I've lived in Redondo Beach for 16 years. I was born in Long Beach. I'm from the area. I love Redondo Beach. I would love to give back to my community. I'm starting to get more involved with what things are going on. I know I like to listen to city council meetings, and during the pandemic, I was very much involved in school district meetings. So I have a strong interest and I care about the community. I'd love to give back. I'm not sure what else to tell about myself. I'm a mother of 2. My kids are 12 and 15.
Well,
I have a lot of time, like I said, because I am pseudo retired. I guess completely retired actually. I don't work. So. You guys have any questions for me?
Well, just first, thanks, Ms. Miller, for joining us from Hawaii. Yeah, I mean, on your application, stepping up, it's frankly very impressive. I don't have any questions. Anyone in the council have any questions for you, Ms. Miller? Don't feel bad if we don't have questions. It doesn't mean,
Okay.
oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes. Hello, Ms. Miller. Just wanted to check in on your availability as far as what time of day you could meet if you were to be appointed to one of these commissions you've applied to.
Like I said, my availability is wide open. I can meet at any time. I'm available.
Okay, thank you.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ms. Miller, if you served on the Planning Commission, and, the Planning Commission deliberates extensively, they have multiple meetings on the same subject to reach ultimately their conclusions, which they either vote in unanimously or, in a split, and they send those as recommendations to the city council. How would you feel if the city council didn't follow the Planning Commission's recommendations during one of its hearings? Would that make you feel dejected for future work on the Planning Commission, or what would be your reaction to that?
Well, I'm sure I would be disappointed if we made recommendations. And, I would assume that we went through a thorough process to make the recommendations that we did. But I mean, ultimately, it is the council's decision to do things. But no, it would not deter me from doing the work that needs to get done.
Thank you.
If that's what you mean.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any more questions? you guys? Well, I think that's it. Christina, thanks for hanging on there.
Sure.
Yeah, we got all your information. You're a great applicant, and aloha.
Aloha. You guys enjoy your evening. I'll finish my
Have a Mai Tai first.
I will.
There you go, Mahalo.
Go catch a wave, do something. Thank you,
Well,
Christina.
we're at a luau right now. I do apologize.
We
I
could
thought you
hear
said-
it. We actually could hear it.
Sorry. So sorry.
It's all right.
Okay, just tell us.
If you saw us bobbing our head, that's why though.
All right. Well, you guys enjoy.
Thank you very much. Okay, Paul Moses. Paul Moses out there or online? Laura?
Not online.
Okay, moving right along. Nancy Skiba. Nancy Skiba, come on down. And you're applying for public safety.
Yes, I am.
Your first choice.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for hanging in there.
Thank you. Okay. Well, this is a commission I've always been interested in. I've always been very interested in law enforcement, investigation, things that have to do with quality of life, safety. I know the crime is rising in our areas, and there have been a lot of incidents recently on the streets, robberies and so forth, street robberies and assaults and that kind of thing. And I know that we really need to put more energy into trying to have more safety for people in our area. More awareness also, more programs that would be beneficial to the residents. In fact, I recently recommended a couple of possible programs to the police department and community services, one of which was a senior self-defense class, and also another one that would be like a balance program. People get very injured when they fall, and people can fall for any number of reasons. But they can really get hurt. And there used to be a balance class that was given at the North Branch Library through the city of Redondo, and it was really excellent and went on for a number of weeks. And people learned a lot, and they had active participation. Anyway, those are still under consideration.
How long ago was that?
The class itself, before the COVID.
Before COVID?
Yeah, before COVID.
Hasn't
I
cranked
actually
up
took
yet
the
again.
balance class, and it was great. And I would take it again, in fact, because it's really a good thing, especially if you're older or you've had surgeries or illnesses or injuries.
You have elderly people that live by themselves. And-
I'm one of them.
Yeah, and you're at risk of falling, and you fall, and you can't get up. And yeah,
It's easy to really injure yourself. You can break a hip just by some tiny little fall, and you don't even think anything of it at the time, and then later you realize, But anyway, I have had a very checkered career. I worked in the film industry for about 21 years at Universal Studios. I worked in TV and film production with all kinds of writers, producers, and directors. I worked on shows such as The Rockford Files with Stephen J. Cannell and Marcus Welby, Adam 12, Toma, and a number of other things too, in development, people who were writing pilots and that kind of stuff. So at some point, I just had enough of the film business. And I mean, I had really been in love with it at one time, and I had written and sold some stories and scripts and things. But I wanted to change, and I always loved law enforcement, even since I was a child. And I really had thought of actually becoming a police officer. But my parents were first-generation Americans and very strict, and they didn't really want their daughter running around with a gun fighting criminals. So I kind of bowed to my mom's wishes because she was undergoing cancer treatment. She had breast cancer, and fortunately for her, she won and continued on another 40 years. But I went into, more theater arts and other kind of general classes. So I had a lot of training in different areas. I went to Los Angeles Valley College, Glendale College, UCLA for screenwriting, LA Trade Technical College. I took a labor studies program for 2 years. I was very involved with union matters at Universal. I was a shop steward and a lot chairman. And in the course of this study I did with the labor studies through the County Federation of Labor, my classes included labor law, grievance and arbitration, contract negotiation, collective bargaining, workers' compensation, union organizing, labor history. I actually served on a contract negotiating committee with Universal Studios for a secretarial union and helped to save a department of 100 employees that they were trying to get rid of. But because I've always loved investigation, I also went later on to West Coast Detective Academy, and I graduated from that. And also, it was a private investigation course which covered surveillance, report writing, accident, injury, work comp investigation, self-defense, process service, locating persons and assets, undercover work, gathering evidence, investigative software. And I did that. I actually had a detective agency of my own for about 5 years called Celtic Cross Investigations, and I did all those kind of things. At one point, it got to be kind of a financial hardship because during certain times of the year, a lot of people are not hiring detectives. Most of your income would come from if you have a lot of lawyers for clients, because they will refer people to you, or they'll need you for doing special services like verifying people's addresses so they can serve them with papers and stuff like that. But needing to support myself, and I needed a break from all of that. It was very expensive to run a detective agency, especially if you're a one-man operation. So at one point, I actually worked as a parking enforcement officer for a couple of summers with Hermosa, LA County.
Sure, that was fun.
It was great. I loved it. I thought
Writing parking tickets was fun?
Oh, yeah. Patrolling in a truck and pulling over. If you can decide where you want to go and where you want to ticket and what you want to ticket.
And you can park anywhere, right?
Oh, yeah, especially on red zones. That's the best place to park.
You drive around those little carts?
We had a little cart at the Hermosa one. Now they've got Jeeps, which lucky them, they've got the Jeeps, And I also did it with LA County beaches and harbors. Then after that, I was patrolling from San Pedro, White Point, all the way up to Zuma Beach.
Wow.
And Doom, all of that.
You worked for beaches and harbors?
For a summer, I did.
Oh, you
Yeah,
worked.
doing parking enforcement.
That right there is why no one ever get tickets right there. Thank you very much.
Oh, I wrote a lot of tickets.
Yes, but how many parking lots are there?
Many.
Right.
many ones. And it's your whole day driving from one end to the other.
Yep.
In fact, I was doing that job when I was out at Will Rogers area on September 11th. And it was everything seemed to come to a standstill that day. You didn't have people coming to the beach lots. And I always remember there was some young man who came out and stood on Pacific Coast Highway near Temescal Canyon Road holding this massive flag. And he just stood there the whole day holding and waving this flag because it was World Trade Center. And it was just so devastating. And you're just out there doing this job, and there's all of this, horrible stuff going on. And, it
What was the
something-
flag? American?
United States flag.
Huh?
Yeah, he was a young teenager with a U.S. flag.
Wow.
And he was just showing his support for our country on that day.
Okay, well, we got to get going.
Okay, let me,
And
okay,
so,
let me quickly go. Okay,
sure.
I also did it for City of Beverly Hills for about 5 months. I was an applicant. They wound up hiring somebody from within who already was employed there. I did.
What'd you just graduate from, Nancy?
Huh?
Did you see that?
Oh, yes, that's, I wanted to finish. I just graduated from the Citizens Police Academy, which was absolutely awesome.
Here
Oh,
in
my God,
Redondo.
it was so great. I recommend it so
I was
highly.
going to ask you.
In fact, I'm hoping that they're going to come up with the Citizens Police Academy too. That'd be really great. They can
So
find
you can do
more
it
stuff
again.
to teach us. And I also, at City of El Segundo, I took a woman's firearm safety course recently, which was great. And so I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of interest in local safety issues, community issues, quality of life. And I think I have a lot I could contribute. And I would be very interested in, working with the people on the committee. Let's say I come up with some idea or think of something that would be good. Go to them with it, discuss it, research it, see about the viability of this type of thing, and then bring in our councilman also to be involved in the thing to help to facilitate this. So I'll be basically, I have a lot of well-rounded experience of all kinds, and I just really would like to make a contribution. I'm retired also, and I would like to represent District 4 because Public Safety Commission does not have anybody on that commission from District 4. They're not represented, or District 3. So that would be it. Yeah, and
Okay.
thank you so much for having me down here. I appreciate it very much. And
Well, thanks for coming down and showing up. I mean, it's just
Thank you.
an effort to do this, but are there any questions on the council?
Thank you, Ms. Skiba.
all right.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you all. Thank you. You too.
I did that very
Thanks
quick.
for that rundown.
Oh, yeah, he wants a question.
Oh, I'm sorry,
No
Councilmember
problem.
Bear.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Skiba. The question is, these commissions start at 6:30 or 7 PM at night. Would you be able to start any earlier?
Absolutely.
All right,
No problem.
thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Warren Tanner. Warren Tanner here, there he is. Waiting to be on the Public Arts Commission, I know that. I think there'll be some openings next year. How many years have you been coming down here? 3, 4?
No, 3.
3. Looking
Good
forward
evening. Good evening.
to-
Thanks for having me. As the mayor said, this is my third time applying for the same position. And I just wanted to come back again this year because the first two were actually on Zoom. I wanted to introduce myself in person. I also wanted to introduce myself to our new council members. Also, there is a little bit of a momentum going on in terms of arts in Redondo Beach right now, whether it's the beach life events or the art exhibits that we are having at the historic library. So I wanted to put things in perspective for the stuff that I've discussed over the last 2 years. But perhaps more importantly, I think I just want to talk to you about, I'm just going to come to the point about the potential use of AES plant and how we can integrate some of the ideas that we have discussed over the last 2 years with the stuff that you are looking at. But before I do that, I think for the sake of our new council members, let me briefly introduce myself. With my family, we live in District 5, very happily. I'm a former investment banker. I was in the arts business after that, as an art fair organizer, international art fair organizer, and a gallery owner. I also did some work professionally for a non-for-profit think tank, and we moved to Southern California about 8 years ago. I was a cultural arts commissioner with the city of Manhattan Beach. I resigned that position when we moved to Redondo. I was also a member of the Equity, Diversity, Social Justice, and Inclusion Committee of the Manhattan Beach School District. That's, pretty much I am, and I can just start talking about the AES plant idea, or I can just answer any of the questions you may have.
Let me ask you about our historical. Yeah, I mean, that's available. And we're having currently, we're having another event in September.
Yeah.
And to me, the location, it's a historical
I think
landmark.
that's basically, sorry to interrupt, but that basically kept the momentum going. I think the first event last year was fantastic. Council member Neri Nyman, we went there about, I believe, 2 years ago. We discussed some ideas about what can be done out of it. And one of the ideas that I was pushing to turn it into the very first Redondo Beach Arts Museum. But, I understand that there are some other ideas have been floating around. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention for the, again, sake of our new council members, I currently serve on the Preservation Commission. So if you want to have any questions about Preservation Commission too, I can certainly answer that. Our commission was not involved in those discussions at all, even though it's a national landmark. So I assume that at some point, the future usage of the historic library will come in front of the Preservation Commission. But with
Well, it
regard,
takes some activism on the part of the community, people like you who have ideas, working with the museum, LA County Museum of Art. There's a lot of art interest in Los Angeles who could use a facility like that.
It's a wonderful building, but I think it will probably be better for use of more community involvement, allowing more events to take place there. I mean, the idea about changing it into a pure art museum plus a dining facility, I think was fantastic. But now, since you specifically discussed the power plant, if I may, let me just briefly run about something that we have also discussed with this council during my past interviews. I really do believe that the power plant itself, the building, is a fantastic venue for a future world-renowned art museum. There are examples of that. This trend sort of started several decades ago in Paris, taking old industrial buildings or train stations and turning them into museums, like the d'Orsay Museum in Paris, followed by like some of the train station in Hamburg and other German cities. But the most recent and most successful example is the Tate Modern, which is in London, which happens to be a power station. A power station which was built not long time ago, in 1949, after the war. It was sort of decommissioned in the late 60s. And in the late 80s, early 90s, they decided to basically take the machinery out, keep the building and the stack, he only has one stack, and turn it into what they call the Tate Gallery, an art museum, a contemporary art museum. It opened in the year 2000. Right now, it is the third biggest tourist attraction in the entire United Kingdom, and it generates about £100 million annually for the local economy. It is amazing. It's amazing. So the reason why I wanted to mention, I mean, you may say that, we are not London, but obviously we are Los Angeles. I mean, we are one of the highest brand value cities or counties in the world. And what happens in Los Angeles is getting very famous worldwide about having this globally renowned, fantastic art venues like the Broad Museum, we have the Hammer, we have MoCA, and as you probably know, LACMA is now building a beautiful, beautiful new facility right on Wilshire, which is not even going to be enough. We have the Getty, of course, not going to be enough for their thing, so they still have an excess capacity of collections and exhibitions already lined up, and they are looking for new venues within the county. Just please stop me if I'm going to go too long on this, but I think, if you think about it, all the museums in our beautiful museums in Los Angeles are concentrated in the downtown or Beverly Hills area. There's nothing on the coastline. And I think eventually the coastline, the beach cities of Los Angeles are going to be very attractive to visitors. both domestic visitors and international visitors. And we are even seeing that right now. As the Olympics approaches and things like that, I think it's going to be more intense. So to cut to the conclusion, high-quality art museums bring very high-quality visitors. They come every day of the week, except maybe when the museum is closed on one day. They come every month of the year. So it's basically a beautiful complement to our summer activities because they come, during the winter as well. They spend a lot of money. They leave a lot of money to the local economy, and they basically elevate the reputation of the city. And when I saw your waterfront education renderings and things like that, I think it will make a beautiful complement to the waterfront and sort of like the backdrop of that waterfront. So obviously, assigning that single usage of an art museum to that entire area would be unfair. I think a park can, as your vision has always been, can again complement that concept. And I think, if so desired, I think the county of LA would be very, and so will be the state, very open to this idea and would be very supportive, not only in terms of like dealing with the current owners or things like that, but I think also financially because they have tremendous funds, both the county and the California Art Commission, that they have sort of earmarked for such things. So
Let me stop because your idea
please.
is fantastic in complimenting, a waterfront park. That would really put Santa Monica Bay on the map and Los Angeles
absolutely
on the map. There's no question about that.
Yes, because right now in Redondo Beach, we don't really have buildings, both from the architectural point of view, as well as from the functional point of view, that will put the Santa Monica Bay on the map. And Redondo Beach right now has a unique opportunity to host that being the center of that thing, rather than, let's say, Manhattan Beach, rather than El Segundo or
Well, the Olympic Committee says the same thing about Redondo Beach.
Right.
We have the space in places like Manhattan and Hermosa don't.
Right. So
Anyway, I don't want to.
Please.
Sorry, Aaron.
No, one more sentence. I mean,
Sure.
that's the reason why I want to be on the Public Arts Commission, because I like to push that commission, if I'm on it, to a more proactive position, so they can come and entertain this idea, do the research, with your guidance and permission and directives, maybe even talk to those various agencies and see what can be done, and basically give you the tools so you can actually negotiate with the current landowner, or have them have this higher agencies, such as the county and the state, negotiate with them, or with them, I'm sorry.
It's a very complicated issue. The current owner is suing us. He's got 3 lawsuits against us, and he's bankrupt. So it's a very complicated issue, and I wouldn't even venture into that. But there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 openings on the Public Arts Commission next year.
Next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
But and nobody leaves the Public Arts Commission, so it'd be great to have somebody like you on it.
Thank you.
Thank you for serving on the Preservation Commission. Is there any council member?
Well, first, I reiterate what the mayor has said in the past, which is you can continue to do the great work and propose the great ideas that you have and advance them, even if you're not on the commission. So
thank you.
Please do that. We all follow. I follow you. I like all your posts and the like. The city council had voted to move forward with, after flying the pride flag, with a permanent installation towards equality and pride for the city of Redondo Beach. And so the question was posed to the art commission as to what form should that installation take and where should it be placed. I know that I'm just throwing this throwing this at you. It's not on the agenda packet. You weren't given notice of it, but do you have any ideas as to that subject?
I would basically go to the public and ask them, because I think this is I wouldn't, issue is the right word. This is a subject which should be embraced
What
by
subject are we talking about?
by the entire community.
Pride Monument. they're
The
calling it
Pride Monument, where it should be, because for some people, definitely not for me, it is a controversial issue. The more people you get involved about the location and things like that, I would open up a competition. I would definitely get even the kids involved, at the high school level. So just do it as wide as you can.
Excellent response. So when this was proposed to the Public Arts Commission, pretty much nobody said anything. Nobody had an idea of where to put it. Nobody had an idea of what form it should take, until right as the hearing was going to close, the chair stepped up and said, hey, I want to be on a subcommittee to work on this. But otherwise, none of them did. So should we be removing people from the Public Arts Commission before the terms are up?
That's not for me to answer.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Hey, well, thank you very much again.
Okay.
Oh, you got a
Yeah,
question?
just a quick one there.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you for coming in, Mr. Tanner, and for serving on the Preservation Commission and continuing, it sounds like, to come in here to speak to the art issues, which are a very important part of our community. I believe the Commission Public Art starts at 7 p.m. And Preservation 6:30 or 7. Would you be available to start any earlier?
I'm looking for a job.
Okay.
Well, a non-paying job? Do you realize?
Paying job. So if that comes true, I have no idea. If I get a job, I can't promise you.
All right.
But right now, I think we start around 7 actually at the Preservation Commission. So that works for me for the time being, but I can't tell you.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
anything else? Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, no, thanks for stepping up.
Well, before you leave, I did have a very quick question, and I want to be quick because I know we're getting late. Any ideas at all for Artesia?
I live very close to Artesia. I think Artesia in the past has been called the Artesia Corridor. I'm very against that concept because corridor means that people go through. I like to call it the Artesia District. I mean, that little wordplay, art in Artesia and things like that. But beyond that, it needs to be obviously more filled with arts. One very quick thing I had suggested earlier, I think about a year ago, is we need to come up, or we don't need to, a suggestion is to come up with vertical banners along the line.
We funded it in this last budget.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and then I think it would be an interesting idea, just like your the other monument, to go to the public and ask them to design them.
Yeah, for sure. So since we funded it this year, we can expect that we'll see them in 2 years.
Okay, thank you.
Any reaction to Uptown or any other, you mentioned Artesia District, where
Uptown works for me. I lived in Manhattan, New York for 25 years.
Okay.
And, Uptown is obviously a term which is associated with quality. So that
All
works
right.
for me.
Uptown Redondo.
you heard it first from District 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tanner. Okay, Margaret Willers. Applying for a librarian.
Mind if I stand?
You do whatever you want. I know.
Turn on the mic one second.
On that
Yeah,
note,
sorry.
I think I'm
You
gonna
gotta put the
stand
button,
up.
how to raise it up?
Yeah, you can push a button and raise it. if you want
Push a
to.
button.
Right, on the right-hand side of the podium.
Okay.
Thank you.
You gotcha.
I think we'd all stand up. Feel good.
Hey. Well, yes. Oh,
It feels good.
Thank you for the idea.
I need to stand. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we.
2.5 hours.
So we got Margaret Willers, then we got Daniela Wudnicki, and then Masood Yusuf.
And do I understand it's your birthday today?
Yes,
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
thank you.
Happy birthday to
I
you.
might have had a little libation at lunch.
Good.
So I apologize. However,
Oh.
I'm in District 4. Commissioner Obaji is a great proponent for our district. And has now gotten everybody to apply for commission jobs, I think, because we see his activity and he's been terrific for our district.
Excellent.
I'm currently on the Library Commission. I would like to continue. I enjoy it. My background is I went to Cornell undergraduate and 2 master's degrees, neither of them in library, an MBA in hospital administration. I've worked in hospitals for about 10 years, 6 years in mental hospitals as business, which I enjoyed. I've worked in mostly new product development and banking, which has nothing to do with the library either, but I did work my way through school working at the library. So I've had a lot of mostly finance and budgeting experience. I never want to do that again. Thank you very much. I love working in the library. We have a great library. Since I've been there, I started the library briefs to let the council people know and their constituents know that what's going on at the library with just little brief bullet points instead of reading a whole newsletter. I also have started Ask the Librarian, and we are now getting tours for all the library commissioners of the libraries, because many of them have not done tours of the library. And all new commissioners going forward, we're going to have initial tour of the libraries to see what we have. We've also suggested that new council members get a tour of the library, both of them, so that they can see what goes on at the library and see how important the library is in the community. So there's a couple things that I've done. I am the biggest proponent of the North Branch because somehow it became the stepchild instead of the major presence that it is on Artesia. And we have huge windows in both libraries and huge walls, and I'm actively working to get more things put in the windows so that everybody in the community can notice it as they go by. Right now, we have the summer reading program banner in the front of the North Branch and in the main branch. And there's been a tremendous, I don't know, every year the summer reading program is really heavily subscribed. And they've started a program now for adults. Last year, adults can join the summer reading program, not just teenagers and youth. And they get prizes as well. And actually, more adults are signing up every year that we've had it, which is a really neat thing, and they get prizes too.
Is this at the main library as well, or just at the north?
Yes. Yeah, both. So you can get prizes if you read so many books. It's close to your office.
Yeah. Well,
So that's running until August 19th. And then there will be a party to celebrate how well it's done. And it does really well every year. I had no hand in that, I tell you, but just so that you know, for your constituents. The other thing that you should know for your constituents, because it's still available, we have in the library state park passes, so that you can take out for a week and go to any state park you'd like to go to for free, which is a fabulous thing for all the constituents in Redondo.
what is the closest state park to us?
Dockweiler.
Dockweiler. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can get free parking with your pass, which you can take out of the library.
Wow.
Thank you.
Anyway, so I'm reapplying to work on the Library Commission again. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Maria. Any questions? Yeah.
I just have a comment, actually. Commissioner Willers, I want to thank you for being such a strong commissioner. What I mean by that, I'm not just, reciprocating the compliment, but she keeps in touch. Before every community meeting, she tells me what's going on at the library, what's new, what resource she wants to highlight, so I can pass that on to the community. And that's a model, that's an exemplary conduct for anybody who ends up becoming a commissioner. Your relationship with your council member or any council member is extremely important, because that is the fastest way to pass up information, get important information about what policy objective needs to be accomplished to the city council, is through your council member. So thank you for doing that. Thanks for being in constant contact.
Welcome.
Thanks for your service.
I enjoy it.
Excellent.
Thank you. And happy birthday again.
Happy, yeah.
My second choice, however, I think Commissioner Obaji could tell you this, would be on the Housing Commission.
Say again?
Housing Authority.
would be on the housing authority.
As a second choice.
Yeah, but you gotta be.
Well, we don't want to lose you to the library commission.
Yeah, we're not gonna lose in the library.
Oh, well, I like the library commission. It's good.
Councilmember Barron.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Willers. The Library Commission, I think, starts at 7 PM at the,
On the first Monday of the month.
yeah. Would you be able to start any earlier than that?
I could start at any time.
All
I do not have a job, I'm retired. But there are members on the council who do have jobs. So.
Good to
we meet
know.
when we meet.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you,
All the work you do and
love it.
signing up for it again. Okay, Daniela, what, Nikki? If I said the name right, I hope. Close enough? The next one's even harder.
Do you prefer I stand or sit?
Whatever you want.
Well, do whatever you want, yeah.
Hi, my name's Daniela Woodnicki. I've been a resident of District 4 for give or take 30 years. I did leave to go to New England for.
Give or take 30 years?
Give or take a year, 30 years, give or take a year.
Oh, right. Got it.
I went to graduate school in Boston, and then I became a civil servant there for about 8 years. I worked as a public health inspector enforcing local, state, and federal regulatory codes, and then I helped run a health department. I moved back to Redondo Beach right before the pandemic in 2018, where I then began a job as a hearings investigator for the City of Santa Monica Rent Control
Hearing
Board.
investigator?
Yes.
So they're going to have a hearing and you're going to go out and,
I'm an investigator for the department. The department is conducted by holding administrative hearings. It's mainly attorneys in the department. And anytime there is a case, which is often, they will send me out to investigate the case, either going out and doing a housing inspection, doing, I don't know if you're familiar with like Ellising a property, doing an Ellis investigation. There's a exemption process. A lot of people will try to take advantage of that process. It's where there's a home, if there's 3 or fewer units at the property and the owner resides there, they can get an exemption from rent control. A lot of people take advantage of it and may not be honest about their residency. And then my services will come into effect where I will investigate that person's, trying to help the hearing officers determine where their primary residence really is. Is it in Santa Monica or is it elsewhere?
how do you do that?
Knock on their door at 8 a.m.
I have,
Track their cell phone.
I can look up their cell phones. I look up their DMV records, their voter records. I find witnesses. If I have to subpoena people, I will. We have a lot of access to things that a layperson doesn't have access to as a government agency.
Sure.
That being said, moving back to Redondo Beach as an adult, I've noticed things I may have never noticed when I was just, a teenager or a child. And I'm thankful to have a councilperson Obaji, who is, I know at the beginning of this session, you gave us, Mayor Brand, you gave us your cell phone number. I have Council Member Obaji's cell phone number, and he's very receptive if there's any issues.
You call him?
I have.
She texts.
I text
and
him.
blows me up on next door.
On next door, yes. I've seen a lot of faces of people from next door. I'm like, oh, I've seen that name.
Now you can track his phone, see where he is.
No, only.
He's always here.
Only with permission.
It'd be very bored.
I think I missed one meeting.
But I know that I've had concerns in the community regarding graffiti, anti-Semitic graffiti on Artesia Boulevard that was neglected, about blight on Artesia Boulevard. And Councilmember Obaji encouraged me that if I have issues that I should be more involved. And so I really took that to heart because my mom, who's here today, back in the 80s, she wrote a letter to her council member of District 4, Archie Snow, and she was complaining about the North Branch Library. And Archie Snow showed up at her front door and said, if you have problems with it, you should be library commissioner. And she was. And that really sat with me. And so I went and joined the Citizens Police Academy this past year with Nancy, who's fantastic.
That's awesome.
And I learned a lot about the Redondo Beach Police Department, a lot that I hadn't known. You know, I always thought it was just this great police department, and I got more insight into what it is. And being a civil servant for so long for other communities and providing my services in different ways, I'd really love to give back to Redondo and not just take from it. And that's why doing the Citizens Police Academy, speaking with my council member, I decided that I'd love to be more involved. And I thought the Public Safety Commission is something that I'm very interested in being a part of.
That makes sense. Okay, any questions?
So I commended Ms. Willers for being a model commissioner, but I got to commend you, Ms. Wadicki, for being a model citizen. So there was graffiti on the Dollar General store, and I'm not going to describe the graffiti because I don't want to empower those groups. There's graffiti on the Dollar General store, and she took a picture of it, she texted it to me. I immediately texted it to city attorney, chief police. They said, okay, I said, you called in the graffiti hotline? She said, yes, I did. It's been 24 hours. It's still up. And then, hours later, she texts me. She's like, I went ahead, I painted over it. So she got white paint. She painted over the white door, and the graffiti is gone. So bravo, Ms. Wadnicki. Thank you, and thank you for applying. And we hope to get you on a commission.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Wadnicki, for applying, and nice to see you have your mom here with you today. This commission and others start around 6:30, sometimes later. Would you be able to start any earlier than that if needed?
Yes, I can start as early as 5 o'clock.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Well, I got to say, you're a great example of how just being an active citizen is actually more valuable and more useful than just sitting on a commission meeting once a month.
And I just downloaded the Citizens
Access Redondo?
Access Redondo.
There you go.
And I am just walking, and there'll be like a tree blocking, and I'll have to go into the street, take a picture.
Nice, that's awesome.
So that's also to Councilman Obaji, who recommended doing that.
There you go. I was never a commissioner. Were you ever a commissioner?
Nope.
Were you ever a commissioner? Were you ever a commissioner? There you go. I know Councilmember Barrett. 4 of the 5 people up here were never commissioners. And I was very active, and I know Councilmember Nairn was very active and very, accomplished long before we commissioners. So whether you guys get on commissions or not is kind of not the point of being active and helping your community, honestly. Although it is important. Okay, Masood Yusufzai. Did I say that right?
Yeah, not too bad.
I know it's not easy, but welcome. Masood.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for showing up.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
My name is Masood Khan Yusufzai. I'm a District 5 resident. I live in District 5 with my wife. We've lived in Redondo for the last couple years. My wife and her family actually grew up, my wife actually grew up in Redondo, and we ended up buying a house on the street that my wife grew up on in District 5. So that's a little bit about where we are at. Professionally speaking, I started my career with the Circular 230 IRS tax world. I spent a number of years.
Say that again, what?
I started my career in tax, in Circular 230 IRS tax, but dealt with a lot of tax controversy for individual taxpayers, businesses. After that, I started my career in the public sector. I worked for the city of San Clemente as a revenue analyst for a number of years. I worked on a variety of revenue matters, TOT, business license. I helped develop the TOT tax auditing program that the city of San Clemente had used. After leaving there, I worked as the internal audit and special projects manager for the Ontario International Airport Authority. I set up the internal audit universe that the airport had used to develop their annual audit plan. After I left there, I worked as a Office of Inspector General consultant. So I've had quite an eclectic mix of governmental experience from the local level, from the JPA level to the federal level. Presently, I work in public accounting as an assurance advisory supervisor. Our firm specializes in nothing but government. So a variety of our clientele includes completing ACFRs, year-end audits for municipalities like Redondo. I think Redondo at one point in time was actually a client of my firm's. So I'm a government guy through and through. I work in government. I've spent a number of years in government. I understand government. I'm a finance guy. So that's a little bit about my professional background. When I'm not spending my free time coming to council meetings, which I do professionally already, I like to spend time with my wife. We, like most people in Redondo, like to walk the pier endlessly, grab some churros, argue what dipping sauce is better, caramel or strawberry.
You buy churros.
I buy churros, sir.
That's impressive.
That's the move. Long nights, walk with a churro hand in hand with your wife. So
I broke my habit of churros.
I have not broken it yet.
Yeah.
So
what's the TOT tax in San Clemente? How much is it?
at the time when I was the revenue analyst, it was 10%. Much, and revenue matters, coming out of a post-COVID kind of environment. A lot of cities are struggling to recapture revenue that they had lost during the pandemic, especially with TOT, with people not traveling, visiting. San Clemente was a very interesting environment to deal with TOT. There's a lot of politicization of the TOT matter. They're very heavily zoned. You had, half the people, the citizenry, basically saying that we want to preserve the identity of the city by not having, revolving short-term lodging units in our community. Then, on the other end, it's hard to tell somebody that, like a school teacher who can commoditize their home on a beach city, go on vacation, rent their house out, and pay their mortgage for the year. So it's pretty politicizing, kind of topic. And Redondo Beach has a lot of those same characteristics. We are a beach city. A lot of people have been long-term residents. TOT has been kind of contentious. A lot of cities decide on either allowing operators to continue to operate without rules, regulations, to try to recapture some of the TOT, and then other cities say, we want nothing to do with it. Forget about whatever revenue that we'll lose out on. We want to make sure that these aren't within our city. So these types of issues, I've spent a lot of, in the trenches dealing with, political kind of issues with this, but dealing also with the operational needs of the cities.
Yeah, our neighbor city recently went from 12 to 14%. We went from 10 to 12, I don't know how many years ago, long time ago.
It wasn't.
So
From 10 to 12, I don't know if it was too long ago. I remember Redondo at a certain point being 10%, so I couldn't imagine.
10 to 12, I'm going to take a stab at 8 years ago.
Okay.
Anyway, the neighboring city went recently 12, 14. So.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, are there any questions, you guys? I mean, you're just, the collection of applicants tonight is just phenomenal. And you're one of them, for sure.
Well, I appreciate that. It's very kind of you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, yeah.
You ever deal much with short-term rentals, VRBO, collection of taxes and contracts? And that's the first question. And the second question is collection of online streaming services.
So I can write a doctoral thesis on short-term lodging units if you want to hear about that.
That's a good answer.
Sure.
Okay, so what about streaming services, collection of taxes?
Not so much streaming services, but it's the same methodology. Like if you have, taxes or if you have anything, like it's about like how the program is set up, right? So short-term lodging units are and I'll discuss that first. A lot of the time with short-term lodging units that people don't really realize is that, a lot of operators don't even know that they need to pay TOT. I've had that come up professionally a lot. They're like, I just signed up on, a platform, Airbnb, Vrbo, whatever the case is. And they kind of operate under the guise of, I'm just renting this out. I'm not a hotel. I'm not this. And then what comes to find out is that, they're not paying TOT. If the city is, pretty robust with their collection action, somebody in the finance department's going, I think they need to pay us TOT, and then they'll either do a back audit or they'll, make an assessment. I did a lot of that at the city of San Clemente, and then, you're in this kind of collection process, but on the other end, you don't want to politicize that you're the IRS trying to collect TOT from lowly mom pop operators. So there's a lot of those types of things you need to balance with that.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Of course.
What do you mind saying what firm you work for? Or?
No, sure. I work for the Poon Group.
What group?
It's called the Poon Group.
Okay.
Yeah. They're like, I think the city presently uses LSL, right, for your external auditors? For your external audit?
LSL, yes.
LSL is
Not
your
for taxes, I think it's taxes.
Yeah,
yes.
HDL is
yeah.
usually, so LSL. So yeah, we're like an LSL.
Okay.
Your firm doesn't currently work with the city of Redondo?
No.
Yeah, because that would be a conflict.
Not for like 10 plus years. Long time ago. Long before I was there.
Any other questions? You guys, yeah, same question?
Thank you, Scott.
What's that?
Yes, please. Thank you
Okay.
for asking these.
Mr. Yusuf Zai, what would be your availability if you were selected and approved to be on the Budget and Finance Committee? It meets the second Thursday of every month.
I work basically Monday through Friday at home, unless I have to travel for a site. You know, I live in District 5. I'd probably say 6 p.m. and get done about 5:30, get here by 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
One night a month. It's not like
Yeah. No problem. I'll go to council meetings for other cities on my other nights.
Yeah, you know what that's about.
The only, I think one of the other commissions that I applied for was Parks and Rec. And I just also wanted to make mention of that. So, you know, I touched a little bit about my professional background and, you know, why I feel, you know, I would be an asset to the Budget and Finance Commission. But on the flip side of that, Parks and Rec is really more of a passionate kind of thing. When I was in high school, I have ties to the South Bay. My wife and I are both born at Torrance Memorial. Again, my wife went to Madison, Adams, Redondo Union. Her siblings all did. I left the South Bay for a period of time as a kid, and I grew up in the city of Palmdale. But my first interaction with municipal government was actually volunteering, you know, as a youth hockey coach for the city of Palmdale a number of years ago. So Parks and Rec is a very central thing to my identity growing up. You know, I was a street kid in a lot of ways. Like if I didn't have a Parks and Rec program, you know, I would have been in the streets, and you know, that's kind of a sobering thought. And I say that recently I found out that the Parks and Rec, the Richard B. Hammock Center in Palmdale recently closed. So, you know, I spent afternoons there. I spent a lot of time studying after school there. You know, my parents would drop us off, and we would just spend a lot of time interfacing with the Parks and Rec department for the city of Palmdale. So, you know, I'm very passionate about Parks and Rec programs and after school programs and the outlet that they provide for the kids within the community. So that is something else, you know, that
You played hockey?
I did, sir. I did in the desert.
Ice hockey or?
Roller hockey.
Oh, roller hockey.
I played ice later, but roller hockey. Long time ago when no one in California played hockey.
Did you know Redondo Beach is considered Park Poor? We were locked in with East LA and South LA as one of the most Park Poor communities.
Yes, I did know that. I think you mentioned that earlier in the meeting.
Yeah. Do you feel that, or?
I do in a way. I mean, you know, I like to stay pretty active. I like the parks, you know, a lot. Like I have a dog, and I like to take the dog to the dog park and, you know, just walk the walking path between Artesia and Robinson.
Right.
But I do feel that, you know, the parks that we have in the neighborhood are kind of small, and there's not a lot of park, you know, like you know, Manhattan Beach has Polywog right on Manhattan Beach Boulevard and stuff, but nothing particularly of that size or stature within the city of Redondo.
Right.
Yeah.
Lest we replace that power plant with the park, right?
Yeah.
Can you repeat?
Opportunity, but even with that 50 acres would be still be considered Park Poor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, you know, I think in regards to, you know, Parks and Rec, you know, that was something that kind of struck me too. You know, I thought about that. I was like, you know what, it played such an integral part in me being exposed to sports and, you know, developing soft skills as a kid, you know, doing all sorts of things, you know, that was such a vital thing. And, you know, I think that's important to kind of, you know, highlight for, you know, the kids in our community.
I never realized how important it was and how Park Poor we were until they talked about 3,000 condos and a new power plant on the power plant side. A lot of people think they were just going to put 3,000 condos, but they were going to put a new power plant too.
No.
And I think to myself, well, don't we have plenty of parks? And when I looked up to it and looked into it and read those studies, I was like, wow, we are Park Poor. It was shocking, frankly. Yeah. And that includes the beaches.
Yeah, and that's a shame. You know, like again, you know, I mentioned I lived in San Clemente. I would surf in the morning, audit everybody during the day, and then surf the breaks at night, you know, so we don't have that same kind of cult. And, you know, again, it's a shame considering, you know, how beautiful Redondo is, but
Yeah. Trust us.
best, man. Really, really nice. All the WSL events, if you're into surfing, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Best.
Yeah.
Yeah. South
Laura
OC.
trusts us.
Yeah.
Anyway. Hey, well, thanks a million. Any more questions? Thanks a million, boy. You're, like a lot of people down here, eminently qualified.
I appreciate that, guys. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Masood.
Lori Zaremski. I talked to her earlier. She said she wasn't going to make it. Looks like that's it. Unless there's somebody else out there that wants to apply for, a commission, you're certainly welcome to come down.
We do have someone in Zoom. I'm not sure
Oh.
if it's,
Okay, who's that?
okay, it's George Parker.
George Parker.
Please raise your hand if you would like to speak. Mr. Parker?
Barker.
Parker.
P or a B?
P.
P. Parker. Well, go ahead and speak up, Mr. Parker, if you'd like.
Yeah. Oh, not at this time.
Okay. Anybody can come down at any time to any meeting and talk about anything they want under non-agenda items.
Oh, no. This is the first time I grew up in Hermosa, relatively new resident to, I would be, I guess, District 3 over here on Lomax Lane. And I just want to just become much better acquainted. I've attended a lot of meetings in Hermosa, and actually recently wrote a letter to the city council about St. Cross Church considering, in support of St. Cross Church considering changing the
Zoning for housing.
Zoning, yeah, for housing. And I know this city has done a lot of work in that regard and has made some great progress
Yeah, well, we have a certified housing element, which Hermosa Beach does not. So it's interesting factoid. But this is not on the agenda. I'm sorry, Mr. Parker. We can't talk about that.
Okay, but anyway, this was strictly as an observer and to learn more about what the city council is doing. And I was really fascinated by what you were, the interviews you were holding tonight. I kind of tuned in late, but I'm really grateful and hope to become certainly more involved and appreciate and value.
Yeah, well, you can apply to
city
be on
government.
one of these commissions at any time. You don't have to do it, at this meeting or, we always accept applications.
No, keep up city government. We can't have enough of good city government, and I appreciate all the time and energy and effort of people on the council.
Okay, thank you. We're, can't give any direction because there's nobody to give direction to, and there's no mayor for mayor and mayor items. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Okay, there's a motion to adjourn in a second. Any objection? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, Laura, for hanging.